Thrown straight into the lion's den, a victim of social anxiety inadvertently becomes a master criminal tamer. Mia's psychological profile reveals extreme social withdrawal. She even trembles when ordering a cup of coffee. Meanwhile, the underworld boss Victor Hale clearly displays the characteristics of a power manipulator, viewing human lives as discardable tools in wars. But the clinical intrigue lies in the fact that instead of succumbing to the psychological trauma, Mia's brain activated an extreme survival mechanism. She didn't suffer from Stockholm Syndrome. On the contrary, she used the pressure of the underworld to practice exposure therapy, healing her own fears so she could confidently wear body armor and confront a notorious gang leader.
It begins tonight when an ordinary college student is cast by fate as the sole audience to a crime in the city's arteries. Her choice to step from the shadows will drag her into a savage world of influence and danger. This is a realm where one mistake gets you erased, ruled by a man who is his own law. But true bravery often stirs in the quietest hearts to see how a woman haunted by her own fears finds the strength to rewrite fate. Stay with us. Name your city below. Let's follow this story's map. That Thursday, a monsoon was painting the city in liquid neon streaks across rain-slicked asphalt. Mia Harper walked with her head down, her backpack clutched to her chest like armor. Though her shoes were soaked, she didn't slow, her footsteps a frantic beat at the glossy sidewalk. This was her nightly ritual, built on 3 rules she'd made 2 years ago. Never stop moving, never meet anyone's gaze, and get where you're going. These tenets were how she made herself invisible in a city too big, too loud, filled with strangers who fed on vulnerability. Only 4 more blocks to go. That was the math. 4 blocks until she was safe. A bus shelter glowed ahead, a lone yellow rectangle holding a single, hunched shape. Mia instinctively crossed to the other side of the road. She managed proximity as a risk. She had perfected solitude as a fortress. A brutal clap of thunder exploded above, forcing her to walk faster. That's when she heard it. Not a shout, but a choked gasp, a sound ripped from a larynx and swallowed by the storm. Mia's feet froze to the pavement, her brain catching up a second later. She stood paralyzed as rain streamed down her face, her heart hammering a wild rhythm against her ribs. Ignore it? Keep walking. This has nothing to do with you. But her eyes were already locked on the scene. Across the street, caught in the sterile wash of a bank's floodlights, 2 men in black were shoving a young woman into a dark SUV. The woman fought, her heels carving desperate lines into the wet concrete. One of the men had his hand clamped over her mouth, silencing her as the other pinned her arms. The air vanished from Mia's lungs. This couldn't be real. Things like this didn't happen out in the open, but the street was a concrete canyon, washed clean of witnesses by the deluge. There was nobody except Mia, alone in the downpour, watching something she was never meant to see. Call someone, do something. Her hand dove into her pocket, fingers shaking as they fumbled for her phone. The screen flared to life, a stark blade of light in the gloom, as she tried to dial 911. Just then, the woman's purse dropped, hitting the ground with a flat, wet slap. Its contents spilled onto the glistening pavement. A tube of lipstick, a few coins, a wallet that flew open on impact. In the instant before a heavy boot kicked it out of sight, Mia's eyes snagged on something inside. It was a black card sitting behind the clear ID window. It wasn't a credit card. It was something else entirely, catching the light in a way her mind couldn't quite register. A car door slammed, an engine roared to life, and the SUV screeched away from the curb, its tires screaming on the slick road. Mia stood motionless, her thumb hovering over the call button. The street fell silent again, the quiet broken only by the drumming rain and the sad little scene of the purse's contents soaking in a fresh puddle. Leave. Pretend you saw nothing. That was the voice of her inner survivor, the part of her that had built this ghost-like existence. Just turn around and forget this ever happened. But her legs were already moving, compelled by an impulse that wasn't her own. It broke every rule of self-preservation she had ever made. But the image of that strange black card, the memory of the woman's desperate fight, the sheer, profound wrongness of it all, a hook felt like it had lodged deep in her spirit, pulling her across the pavement. The handbag looked expensive, but Mia wouldn't know. Kneeling beside it with trembling hands, she picked up the wallet. The identification showed a young woman with a brilliant smile and dark hair, Isabella Hale, age 23, and behind it, there was the black card. Mia's damp fingers slid it out. It was made of some kind of metal, heavier than plastic and cold against her skin. There was no bank logo, no insignia, just a single phone number embossed in silver. The panic surged in her throat. Drop it! This is not your battle. This has nothing to do with you. But Isabella Hale's picture was so alive, and Mia couldn't shake the image of her struggle, of the hand that had choked off her screams. Before her own terror could take over, Mia lifted her phone and keyed in the number. It rang just twice. State your position. The voice that answered was male, sharp, and absolutely commanding. It wasn't a question, it was a directive. Mia's own voice came out as a whisper. I'm here. I saw your location. Now. She managed to stammer out the intersection, the street name sticking in her throat. Her whole body was shaking. Who did I call? What have I done? Remain where you are. Do not move. Speak to no one. A team will be at your location in 3 minutes. The connection ended. Mia stared at her phone, her heart pounding hard enough to make her sick. 3 minutes. Someone was coming. She should run, just drop the wallet and disappear before they got here. But her feet felt welded to the concrete. The rain was relentless. She was drenched, hair plastered to her face as she stood in the cold light of the bank, clutching Isabella Hale's wallet and waiting for whatever came next. 3 minutes became 2 minutes and 40 seconds. It started with the sound of engines, big ones, closing in from different directions with a chilling sense of purpose. Then beams of light cut through the rain from both ends of the street, so blinding that other cars pulled aside. 4 black SUVs, bigger and more intimidating than the one that took Isabella, converged on her position with tactical grace. Mia's long-buried survival instinct started screaming. She flattened herself against the bank's cold stone wall, trying to become smaller, trying to vanish. What had she done? The truck stopped in a perfect synchronized pattern, boxing in the intersection. Doors swung open at the same time. Men got out. They weren't just men, they were operators, moving with a frightening discipline, their dark suits doing little to hide the gear they wore. At least 10 of them, maybe more, fanned out to secure the area. Then, from the front vehicle, he stepped out. Mia knew without a doubt that he was in charge. It wasn't just the way the others gave him space, or how his tailored suit seemed to repel the rain. It was his presence, an aura of authority so intense it felt like it bent the air around him. He was tall, maybe in his mid-30s, with dark hair wet from the storm and a face that could have been handsome if it weren't so hard and severe. But his eyes stole her breath. They were dark, piercing, and they locked on her with a focus that felt like a physical blow. He crossed the distance between them in long, determined strides, ignoring the puddles. 2 more men emerged from the shadows to flank him like guards. You made the call. It was a declaration. His voice, the one from the phone, was pure command. edged with the confidence of a man who was always obeyed. Mia could only nod, her own voice gone. You saw what happened. Another nod, her fingers tightening in the wallet. His eyes dropped to her hands for a half second, then snapped back to her face. Tell me everything, leave nothing out. They grabbed her. 2 of them in a dark SUV. She fought back, but Mia's words were just fragile noises in the downpour. She hated how weak she sounded. I saw the card in her wallet. I didn't know what to do. The men described them. I didn't see their faces. They wore dark clothes. One was taller, I think. I think one of them had a tattoo on his hand. I'm not sure. It was so dark. And the vehicle, the model, I don't know anything about cars. It was black. It looked new, big. The license plate? She squeezed her eyes shut, trying to pull the memory from the chaos in her mind. It started with 7K. I think I didn't get the rest. He stood there for a moment, his gaze assessing her, taking her apart. He then turned to one of his men. Pull all traffic cam footage, 10-block radius. I want a black SUV. Partial plate 7K. Run it against every facial recognition system on this street. The man gave a slight nod, his words a low murmur into a hidden mic. The leader's gaze returned to Mia. Your name, Mia. Mia Harper. Mia Harper. He repeated it slowly, etching the sounds into memory. I am Victor Hale, the woman they took. She's my daughter. And just like that, Mia's world tilted off its foundation. Her fingers clenched the wallet into a weapon. Your daughter? Yes. An emotion flared in his eyes, there and gone in a blink. It was the shadow of a deep agony, or maybe a fury so tightly coiled it starved the air. You were right to call. That card is for emergencies of the gravest nature. That number was a ghost, a secret breathed between a select few. Mia choked out that the girl had struggled, that she fought them. A sinew in Victor's jaw tightened, a tremor in bedrock. Unacceptable. He held out his hand. The wallet. As Mia passed it to him, their fingers brushed. His skin was a point of warmth in the chaos, utterly steady while hers trembled. He flipped it open, his face a mask as he looked at his daughter's identification. Shutting it with a sharp snap, he concealed it within his coat. How long? 5 minutes, maybe 6. I called the second their car was gone. Their direction? Mia pointed east. That way, they were moving fast. Victor was already lifting his phone. 6 minutes. Eastbound from the 2nd Street office, 2 subjects, black SUV, partial plate with a 7K. Witness reports a tattoo on one man's hand. He went still, listening to the voice on the line. No, she is here with me, I see. Take care of it. He ended the call, his focus snapping back to Mia. The rain was coming down harder, a detail that seemed to exist outside his perception. You are now a liability. The words hit her with the force of a fist. What? If they had eyes on the scene, and we must assume they did, they saw you make a call, they saw you pick up the wallet, you are a witness. A loose end. His voice was dispassionately cold. You'll need protection until this is over. I can't. I have to get home. I have a class. I never wanted any part of this. Mia. He said her name with the same quiet command he used with his men, and it froze her in place. Listen to me. The people who took my daughter are not opportunists. They are professionals. If they think you can identify them, they will erase you, quite possibly before the sun comes up. Do you understand the severity of this situation? She did, and the reality of it felt like a physical weight trying to pull her to the ground. I will keep you safe, Victor promised, but for that to happen, you must come with me, now. Without argument. I don't know you, Mia whispered. Yes, you do. His eyes bored into hers. You know exactly what I am. You knew it the moment you saw the card. It's why you're terrified, but you made the call anyway. That took courage. I'm not brave. I'm the opposite. I have to rehearse ordering coffee in my head before I get to the cashier. Her voice broke. I saw her fighting for her life, and I knew someone had to do something. For a fraction of a second, the rigid control of Victor's expression cracked. In that case, you are braver than you know. He gestured to one of the dark vehicles. We are leaving. Where are we going? To a secure place where we can talk and you will tell me everything you remember. Every second that ticks by is a lifetime, Mia. My daughter's life hangs on the details locked in your memory. The immense pressure of his statement was suffocating. She thought about running, about just going home and pretending this was all a bad dream. But the defiant smile from Isabella Hale's picture burned in her mind, and she heard herself nod. All right. Victor's hand rested on her elbow, not to force her, but to guide her to the closest SUV. A man opened the rear door. The inside was a different world of soft leather and quiet warmth, a sanctuary from the rain-swept street. Victor got in beside her, the door shut, encasing them in a silent bubble against the roaring storm. A driver was at the wheel, and the vehicle eased into traffic with unnatural grace. Mia sat ramrod straight, her wet clothes seeping into the expensive seat, her hands locked together in her lap. The other SUVs formed a protective diamond, a convoy that treated traffic laws as optional. Where are you taking me? She asked again, her voice small. To my home. It's fortified. They will not be able to reach you there. What about my apartment? My roommate is going to freak out if I don't. Her name? He took the number as Mia recited it numbly. Victor made another call, his voice changing, still commanding, but without the hard edge. This is Victor Hale. I need to leave a message for... He glanced at Mia for the name. Sarah Chen, she supplied. Sarah Chen. Please let her know Mia Harper is safe and assisting me with an urgent family matter. She will be out of reach for the evening, but will contact you tomorrow. Yes, thank you. He disconnected, his gaze finding Mia's again. It's done. You can't just... Who was that? How do you know they'll even tell her? I am certain because when I need something handled, it is handled. He didn't say it with ego, but with the flat certainty of a natural law. Your roommate will get the message within 10 minutes. Mia could only stare. Who are you? I told you, I am Victor Hale. That's not what I mean. For the first time, the faintest hint of something like amusement touched his eyes. No, it isn't. He leaned back in his seat, his eyes on her. I am a man of business, Mia. I oversee properties, investments, and other ventures in this city and internationally. I employ many people. I have access to certain resources. Businesses don't have security teams and emergency credit cards. Mine does. A heavy silence settled between them. Outside, the city lights bled together, familiar streets now feeling alien and hostile with the sheer force of Victor Hale sitting next to her. What kind of business? She asked, almost afraid of the answer. The kind that makes enemies. He turned his gaze to the window. The kind that requires security measures most would find extreme. The kind that makes my daughter a target for no reason other than being my child. Is that why? Someone took her to get to you. Without a doubt. The steel returned to his voice. Isabella knows the procedures. She is aware of the dangers. That they got to her means this was carefully planned. It means they are committed, and it means they are lethal. Mia tried to absorb the implications. What did they want? Money, influence, revenge. Does it matter? His eyes snapped back to hers. The only objective is her safe return. And you're going to help me accomplish that? I don't see how. I barely saw. You saw more than you think. The mind records details beneath the surface of awareness. With the right questions, we can retrieve memories you don't even know you have. He took out his phone, thumbs flying across the glass. I have people who specialize in witness memory extraction. They will walk you through it. I'm not a witness. I was just walking home. And right now you are the only person who saw my daughter being taken. That makes you the most important asset in my world, Mia Harper. The way his voice claimed her name sent a chill through her, not of fear, but of a terrifying intensity that showed her just how deep the water was, where she now stood. The convoy turned onto a dark private road, leaving the city's light behind. A thick ceiling of trees above them blotted out the storm-laced sky. After another 5 minutes, massive iron gates appeared out of the darkness, gliding open as they approached. Past them was a house. No, that was wrong. It was an estate. Even through the night and the driving rain, Mia could see the immense scope of the property. It was a fusion of modern and classic architecture, all hard angles of stone and glass. Light streamed from what seemed like 100 windows. The cars swept up a circular driveway, stopping before a grand entrance. Victor's door was opened before the car was still. He stepped out, then turned and offered his hand to Mia. She took it, not sure her legs would support her. The rain had become a gentle mist. Men were already moving, their voices clipped and quiet on their radios as they established a perimeter. The entire arrival was a display of flawless, military precision. Victor led her up the steps and through vast doors, held open by staff who seemed to appear from the shadows. The entrance hall was 3 stories high, with a sweeping staircase that looked like it belonged in a movie palace. Polished marble floors reflected the light of chandeliers that cost more than her entire college degree. She stood there dripping on the immaculate stone, feeling completely and utterly out of place. Mr. Hale. A composed older woman with a tablet walked toward them. The operations center was a hive of controlled tension. Dr. Reeves stood by, poised for the debriefing, a guest suite prepared with fresh clothes. Victor turned to Mia. My thanks, Grace. This is Grace Winters, my estate manager. Your needs are her concern now. Grace's eyes surveyed Mia, a placid but sharp appraisal. Come, dear, let's get you from these wet things before you catch your death. I need her in 20 minutes, Victor commanded, clean, fed, and composed. Of course. Grace's touch on Mia's arm was a firm, gentle anchor. Mia followed, seeing no path but forward, up a grand staircase and through a gallery of museum-quality art. Grace revealed a suite that could consume Mia's entire apartment. The washroom is through there, Grace noted. I've chosen some things that should fit. We keep a supply for unexpected visitors. A hot shower will help. There's a robe. Food is on its way. I don't know what's happening, Mia breathed, the words barely audible. Grace's professional veneer softened. No, I don't suppose you do. But whatever else he is, Mr. Hale is a man of his word. If he says you are safe here, you are. She left, the door sealing shut with a soft click. Mia stood, a drenched and trembling figure in the opulent silence as the weight of the last 30 minutes crashed down. She had watched a life torn apart, called a number whispered only in legend, and been spirited away by a private military force. Now she was in a fortress, told she was the key to saving a woman she'd never met. That morning, her greatest anxiety was a psychology presentation. Now she was trapped in a world of tactical gear and memory excavation. Fear was a cold, hard knot in her gut, but underneath, a different impulse stirred, the one that made her retrieve that wallet. A part of her knew Isabella Hale was not one to surrender. In defiance of her terror, Mia waged a quiet mutiny. She was a girl who shrank from confrontation, now locked in a psychological war fought entirely inside her own skull. Within a bathroom of palatial dimensions, she conjured a thick veil of steam, a deliberate cloud to choke the panic rising in her throat. 20 minutes. The time allotted by Grace was a countdown to her testimony, to facing Victor Hale and dissecting the anatomy of the horror. Closing her eyes brought back the phantom reel, the downpour, the scream. Isabella being forced into an SUV by two men. Their motions were a practiced, brutal ballet, the driver a faceless specter, and the tattoo a crucial clue or a trick of the failing light. The image of the shorter man's hand became her anchor in the chaos. Holding on to that detail felt like life or death. Isabella's fate could hang on it. She stepped from the shower, wrapping herself in a plush towel. Grace had left a new identity, designer jeans, a cashmere sweater. Her reflection was a pale stranger, a character swept into a narrative too vast for her. But it was her own choice that had started it all. That choice had to mean something. A sharp rap on the door was Grace with a tray. "Soup," she said. "Mr. Hale is waiting." The warm broth steadied her nerves. She trailed Grace not through the stately main halls, but a warren of service corridors to a solid, sound-proofed door. "The Ops Center," Grace explained. "Tell them precisely what you saw. No additions, no subtractions." Grace's knock revealed a scene from a spy film. A wall of screens formed an all-seeing eye over the city. Below, a table dense with technology was surrounded by a dozen figures in suits and tactical vests. At its head stood Victor. His eyes found Mia's. "Mia, here!" Her legs trembled as she walked the gauntlet of their collective stare. Victor gestured to a seat. "This is Dr. Reeves. She will help you remember." The doctor's smile was kind. "Mia, we'll take our time. I'll just ask some questions to help you access the memory. Nothing to be afraid of. All right?" Mia could only manage a nod. "Good. Let's start." For the next hour, the doctor became the architect of her memory. The smell of rain hitting the street, the sound of the struggle, the shock of the cold. Bit by bit, the shattered pieces of the event began to form a picture. A faint scar on the taller man's throat. 3 rings glinting out the shorter man's hand. The tattoo was real. She couldn't draw it, but she could describe its shape as an artist gave her words a form. The faces remained blurs, but the violence of their actions was perfectly clear. Next, the vehicle. The doctor's calm questioning unearthed fragments of the license plate. 7KB. And something else. A small dent near the bumper. Victor watched from across the room, his face unreadable. When it was over, he approached. "You've done well?" "Is it enough to find her?" Mia asked. "It's a world more than we had an hour ago," he said, turning to an analyst. "Run the descriptions." Check the tattoo against every criminal database. Find me every black SUV with that partial plate. Working on it, sir, a voice replied. Victor faced Mia again. You need to rest. I don't think I can. You will. Grace will take you to your room. But Mia didn't move. What happens now? Now we act on your intelligence. We apply pressure. We wait for them to contact us, he said, his jaw tight. And then we give our reply. What kind of reply? The necessary one. The finality in his voice was absolute. You have done your part. Now I will do mine. An immense weariness finally overtook her. Okay, she whispered. Grace appeared, guiding her back through the maze of hallways. In the suite, the bed was turned down, with pajamas laid out neatly. Sleep, Grace urged gently. Morning will be here before you know it. Then she was gone, leaving Mia alone. Alone in a fortress, wearing a stranger's clothes, her mind replaying the abduction and the face of Victor Hale, the general of a secret army. She had parents to call, an excuse to invent for her friend Sarah, 100 trivialities from a life that no longer felt real. The night had fractured her world. She sank into the luxurious bed, but sleep was a foreign shore she couldn't reach. She lay in the dark, her thoughts a loop of Isabella, Victor's cold fury, and the single choice she'd made not to look away. Somewhere, a woman was a prisoner. Somehow, Mia Harper, a student who feared public speaking, was now the fulcrum in a violent kidnapping. She closed her eyes, trying to calm the frantic rhythm of her heart. Tomorrow, she told herself. Tomorrow she would make sense of it all, but tomorrow broke in ahead of schedule, with the sound of urgent voices and the hard cadence of boots in the corridor. Mia shot up in bed, her heart stopping. The clock showed 3:47 a.m. She'd been asleep for less than 2 hours. The footfalls faded past her door, heading for the command center. She could make out Victor's voice, sharp and commanding, but not the words. Something was happening. Every rational thought told her to stay hidden. But the vision of Isabella's face, consumed by terror, pulled her from the bed. She cracked the door open. The hall was empty, but the voices from the op center were clear. She crept toward the sound, a fool in a horror movie needing to know. The heavy door was open just a sliver. Through the gap, Victor was a silhouette against the monitor glow. A soldier was reporting. We have a position. Warehouse on the pier. She's confirmed inside. Hostiles? Victor's voice was ice. 6 confirmed outside. Unknown numbers within. They are armed for a fight. Then they shall have one, Victor said, his hand coming down on the table with a soft, final thud. Prep the team. We move in 1 hour. Sir, it could be a trap. They might be expecting us. I don't care. The raw power of Victor's paternal fury seemed to radiate through the walls. They have had my daughter for 7 hours. Every second is an agony for her. We are not waiting. We are going now. Ready the assault team. Yes, sir. Mia recoiled as footsteps approached, terrified of being seen. She fled back to her room, locking the door, her heart hammering against her ribs. They knew where Isabella was. A rescue was happening. She lay in bed, sleep an impossibility, listening to the grim symphony of men preparing for battle, the rumble of engines, the click of steel, the focused silence of a coming storm. Her mind was fixed on Victor Hale, the man of calculated pressure now unleashing an overwhelming force for his daughter. She saw Isabella, frightened but unbroken, in some dark place, praying for a miracle. Mia thought she would understand her place in all this tomorrow. But tomorrow had just blown the door off its hinges with roaring engines and cold metal. And she was still just the witness, a girl who saw too much, lying in a stranger's bed and hoping her one small act of courage was enough. She must have passed out because the next thing she knew was gray dawn and the scent of coffee. For a fleeting, disoriented beat, the room was her college dorm. Then the night before crashed in like a wave of ice, and she shot upright, a cold dread coiling in her gut. The mansion's profound silence felt more menacing than the chaos had. A glance at the clock, 8:23 a.m. Were they back? Was Isabella safe? A soft knock rattled her nerves. "Come in," she breathed out. Grace entered, a tray in hand. "Good morning. I thought you might be hungry." "Did they?" Mia started, but Grace was already giving a subtle shake of her head. "They left at 5. There has been no word." She set the tray down. "Mr. Hale's orders are that you're to stay in the house. You are not to go outside. Keep the draperies mostly closed. You will open the door for no one. Security knows you are here, but we are maintaining a minimal footprint." "Why?" Grace's face was a mask of professional calm. "Because the people who took Miss Isabella may want to tie up loose ends. And you, my dear, are the only one who saw their faces." The rich scent of coffee suddenly soured in the air. A tremor started in Mia's hands, the same one from the street. "How long do I have to stay here?" "Until Mr. Hale says otherwise." Grace moved to the door. "There's a library down the hall if you need something to read. The gym is on the main floor." The implication was to find a distraction, as the void of waiting is its own special kind of hell. Grace was gone before Mia could shape another question. A perfect breakfast was arranged: eggs, toast, fruit, yogurt. But a raw anxiety made Mia's stomach revolt. Her mind became a theater for violent scenarios. Victor's men breaching a warehouse door, guns raised. The whole fragile plan could shatter. Isabella could be lost at the crossfire. Her captors might decide she was no longer a useful pawn. Mia choked down a bite of toast and some coffee, then dressed in another pristine outfit that had simply appeared as his closet. Its perfect fit was no comfort, only a deep and unnerving intrusion. How had they gotten her measurements? How long was Victor planning to keep her in this beautiful prison? She found the library Grace mentioned, a cavernous, 2-level room filled with books that looked read, not just owned. Leather armchairs were positioned before massive windows that overlooked gardens she could only glimpse past the heavy curtains. She tried to read, but the text dissolved into a meaningless scrawl. By noon, she was pacing. At 2, she fought the urge to ignore Grace's command and walk outside. By 3, she was at the library again, staring at the same unread page. That's when the sound of approaching engines tore through the oppressive quiet. The low growl of several engines climbing the drive, the hard slam of car doors, the sharp, clipped rhythm of shouted orders. Mia dropped the book, rushing to the window and pulling the drapes aside just enough to see. The convoy was back. 4 dark SUVs in the same tight formation as before. Men were already moving out, their actions brutally efficient, and there, helped from the second vehicle by 2 of Victor's men, was a young woman with dark hair. Isabella? Mia's breath caught in her throat. She was upright. She was alive. The great front door downstairs was thrown open. Mia couldn't see it from her angle, but the house's acoustics delivered every sound. Rushed footfalls, sharp, commanding voices. Then Victor's voice, carrying a weight she hadn't heard before. "Get Dr. Chen on the line, now, and find Grace. I want Isabella in her room with a hot bath drawn in 5 minutes. Dad, I'm fine. You're not fine. He cut her off. You're in shock and you're probably hypothermic. Don't argue with me. Mia could hear Isabella's laugh, a fragile sound. You can't turn off the inner control freak, not even for a rescue, especially not for a rescue. Victor's tone softened by a fraction. Now, let's get you warm. Mia backed away from the window, frozen with indecision. Go down? Stay hidden? Would she be intruding on a sacred family moment? The choice was made for her when Grace materialized in the library doorway. Miss Isabella is asking to see you. For me. Why on earth would she want to see me? She wants to thank the person who called for help. Grace gestured for Mia to follow. We should not keep her waiting. Her father won't let her be up for long. They walked down the hall to another wing of the house. Grace knocked once before opening a door to a bedroom even larger than Mia's. Isabella was perched on the edge of a massive bed, wrapped in blankets, though the room was warm. A doctor was taking her blood pressure, while Victor stood guard nearby, his eyes missing nothing. Isabella's gaze found Mia, and a tired smile touched her lips. You're the one. From the wallet. Mia just nodded, a fresh heat of awkwardness rising in her. This close, Isabella's beauty was undeniable, even under the shadow of her ordeal. Her dark hair was a mess, and bruises were already purpling on her wrists where the ropes had been, but her eyes held a defiant spark. I am so sorry, Mia said in a rush, not for calling. I'm so glad you're safe. It's just, I didn't know what else to do, so I called the number and— You are why I'm here, Isabella interrupted, her voice quiet but firm. Those men were going to kill me after they got what they wanted from my father. I'm alive right now because you were brave enough to make that call. I wasn't brave. I was terrified. Bravery isn't being unafraid. Isabella shot a knowing glance at her father. Isn't that right, Dad? Victor's face was carved from stone, impossible to read. True courage isn't the absence of fear, but acting in spite of it. His eyes met Mia's. You did that last night. Most people would not have. The doctor stood. She's dehydrated and exhausted, but it's nothing that rest and fluids won't fix. The bruises will fade. I see no signs of lasting physical harm. Thank you, Dr. Chen. Victor turned back to his daughter. You heard him. Sleep. I am not 5. No, you are 23, and you just spent a night tied to a chair in a freezing warehouse. So, sleep. Isabella sighed, but Mia could see the bone-deep weariness finally claiming her. Fine, but I need to talk to Mia first. Alone. Victor looked like he would refuse, but something in his daughter's stare stopped the words. 5 minutes, then you rest. He nodded to the doctor and Grace, and the three of them filed out, leaving Mia alone in the room with Isabella. A quiet moment hung between them, then Isabella patted the mattress next to her. Please sit. I promise I don't bite. Mia sat down, keeping a careful space between them. Are you really okay? That depends on how you define the word, Isabella said, pulling the blanket tighter around herself. Physically, yes. Emotionally, that's going to take a while. But I'm alive, and 6 hours ago, I didn't think I would be. What happened? I mean, you don't have to talk about it if you don't want to. It's all right. I was leaving a charity event downtown. My security detail got delayed. A traffic jam, they said. My father thinks it was staged. While I was waiting by the bank, a van pulled up. 2 men got out and had me before I could even scream. They were pros, fast, silent, effective. She paused, her fingers twisting a loose thread on the blanket. They took me to that warehouse and started asking questions about my father's business, his associates, his finances, his security arrangements. I didn't tell them anything useful. Did they hurt you? Mia's question was barely audible. They made me afraid. That was enough. Isabella's voice turned to steel, but they made one very big mistake. They underestimated my father. They thought they had more time before he could find them. His men came down on that warehouse like the wrath of God. It was over in maybe 3 minutes. The men who grabbed me never even got their guns up before they were put down. Mia thought of Victor's cold rage in the command room. He was out of his mind with worry for you. I know. He hides it behind that wall of his, but I can always tell. Isabella studied her. He brought you here to the heart of his world. He doesn't do that. Ever. He said I was a witness, that the men who took you might come after me. He's not wrong. Men like that don't like loose threads. She reached over, her fingertips brushing Mia's hand. Thank you, I mean that. You had every reason to just walk away. Anyone else would have. I just remember how you fought them. You were so scared, but you wouldn't give up. No, I didn't. Isabella's smile was sad. That's a lesson from my father. You never give in to the fear, especially when it's all you feel. A knock at the door cut the moment short. Victor stepped inside, his expression making it clear the 5 minutes were over. Isabella, time to sleep. So bossy, Isabella whispered, already sinking into the pillows as her eyes grew heavy. The tide of adrenaline that kept her afloat had finally gone out. In the hall, Victor motioned for Mia to join him, sealing the door with a quiet click. She'll pull through, he murmured, a reassurance meant for himself. She's strong, far stronger than anyone should have to be. She claimed your team had her in 3 minutes. 2 minutes, 40 seconds, precisely. The extraction would have been quicker, but they wired the main door with the device we had to circumvent. He began to walk, Mia falling into step beside him. We have the men who took her. My people are beginning their debriefing. A cold edge to his words sent a tremor through Mia. The debriefing? Victor paused, his gaze locking with hers. Through whatever means are required to get the truth. This was not a chance event, Mia. It was an orchestrated attack, pulled off by someone who knew my security, my daughter's movements, my entire operation. Those men were just the tools. I must find the hand that guided them, and after that, then the threat is removed. His voice was a flat line, barren of any emotion. This is the world I inhabit, Mia. You do not endanger my family and walk away. And you never, ever make my daughter a target. Mia considered asking what removed entailed, but she feared the answer. Instead, she asked, Can I go now? Isabella's back. My part is done. I have to return to my life. Not yet. But why? The person behind this is still unaware we've recovered Isabella. They think their game is still in play, that their design is still unfolding, and you are a loose end they will certainly try to eliminate. He started again toward the command center. You'll remain here until I have confirmation that the danger has been neutralized. How long will that take? As long as it needs. They entered the operations hub. The monitors, once a flood of data, were now fixated on the faces of 2 men. Displayed from every conceivable angle, their features were fed into facial recognition, checked against every known criminal registry. An analyst glanced over. We have confirmed identities. Marcus Chen and David Russo. Both have heavy records, assault, theft, enforcement. Chen has the dragon tattoo you mentioned, Ms. Harper. It links him to the triad in Chinatown. Victor scanned the screen, his stare dissecting their images. Who hired them? We're trying to break them. They're not talking. Make them speak. Victor's command was a sliver of ice. I need names. I want the one who gave the order, who provided the intel, who knew exactly where my daughter would be. And I want those answers by nightfall. Understood, sir. Mia lingered at the entrance, a silent witness to the grim scene, feeling herself pulled into a world far darker than she could fathom. This was not some wealthy man worried about his safety. He was something else entirely. A power that ruled the darkness and drew truth out through means she couldn't bear to imagine. Victor must have felt her unease. He turned toward her. You need to eat. Grace is setting out a meal for you in the room. I'm not hungry. Eat. You will need your strength. For what? He paused, a cryptic shadow passing over his face. We may require more from you, other things you remember. The men who took Isabella were not freelance. There's a larger network involved, and your memory might point to another piece of it. I've told you everything I saw. I know, but memory can be deceptive. A small thing might surface, a detail you dismissed, a face you saw just before it happened. Something that felt like nothing then could be everything now. Mia hugged herself tightly. You want me to stay here for who knows how long in some fortress with guards while you hunt down criminals. Does that sound even remotely sane to you for a person like me? A person like you? Just a normal person. Her life was measured in lecture halls and test anxiety, a reality utterly removed from this kind of raw violence. Her hand swept across the room, indicating the screens of live feeds and criminal data. This is not my world, Mr. Hale. I do not fit here, and yet here you are. His voice had softened. You made a decision last night. You could have ignored it, but you acted. That choice pulled you into this, whether you accept it or not. I was only trying to do the right thing. And you did. You saved my daughter. But in doing so, you set something else in motion. The people behind this now know they were seen. They know there was a witness to the kidnapping. They might not have your name right now, but they will find it. These groups have deep resources. They'll pull surveillance video, trace phone signals, pay off the right people. It's an inevitability. He moved closer, his gaze intense. I'm not keeping you here as a punishment, Mia. I am keeping you here to make sure you survive. The absolute certainty in his voice was a physical weight. An image of her small apartment, her predictable life, flashed in her mind, a safe, simple world that now felt a universe away. How am I supposed to trust you? She whispered. How do I know you aren't just using me? You don't. Victor's frankness was disarming. You have to decide if I am worthy of your trust. But consider this. If I meant to hold you prisoner, would I be explaining myself? Would my staff be treating you as a guest? Would you be free to walk around this house alone? He was right. Mia hated that he was right. I have to call my parents, she said. They'll be frantic. Their number, she told him. He dialed, putting the call on speaker. Her mother picked up on the third ring. Hello? Mrs. Harper. This is Victor Hale. Your daughter, Mia, is with me. There was a short silence. I'm sorry, who is this? Victor Hale. Last night, Mia was party to a serious event and provided my family with critical help. She is completely safe, but for her own protection, it's vital she stay with us for a few days while we handle this. Handle what? What kind of event? I want to speak to my daughter right now. Victor passed the phone to Mia. Her hand trembled as she took it. Mom? Mia, honey? What's happening? Who is this man? Are you okay? I'm okay. I saw something happen. Someone was taken, and I reported it. It was Mr. Hale's daughter, and he's worried the people involved might try to find me, so I'm staying here where it's safe. The half-truth came out with a startling smoothness. A target. Mia, what is this? I want you home now. I can't. Not right now. It's very complicated. Then we'll come there. No. The word came out sharper than she intended. The idea of her parents arriving at Victor Hale's compound, with its armed patrols, was terrifying. Please, Mom, I promise you I'm safe. I'm being looked after. I just need a couple of days for this to blow over, and then I can explain everything. Her mother was quiet for a long, heavy moment. Then her voice edged with doubt. You're absolutely sure you're not in any danger? I'm sure. Call me twice a day, morning and evening. And if you feel for 1 second that something is wrong, you get out of there. You understand me? I understand. I love you, honey. I love you too, Mom. She handed the phone back to Victor. He ended the call. He watched her with something that looked like approval. You handled that well. I lied to my mother. You protected her from the truth. There's a distinction. He pocketed the phone. Go get something to eat. Get some sleep. We'll need to go over everything again tomorrow with fresh eyes. Mia wanted to refuse, but the day's exhaustion was a crushing weight. She gave a small nod and left the command center, walking back to the suite that felt less like a haven and more like a beautiful cage. As promised, Grace had left food, a salad, and a sandwich. Mia ate without tasting anything, her mind a storm. She lay down on the bed, staring at the ceiling, trying to piece together the last 24 hours. So, young Mia saw a girl taken, dialed a number, and found herself pulled into the gravity of a man who commanded shadows and unmade his enemies. She'd even met his daughter, a girl who wore her trauma like a suit of armor Mia couldn't begin to comprehend. And now she was a protected prisoner, caught in a gilded cage while Victor Hale hunted those who had threatened his bloodline. He wasn't lying about consequences. She had chosen to step in, never once imagining the price would be the shattering of her own quiet world. One piece of her soul screamed for the existence she'd forfeited, yearning to have missed the wallet, to have never dialed that number. She'd be back in her apartment, lost in the simple anxieties of school and rent. But another, harder part of her found a dark satisfaction. Isabella was alive because of what she did. A daughter was returned to her father because Mia found courage for 1 minute. Maybe that single moment was worth a few more days of this living dread. Sleep must have taken her because she woke to pure blackness, pierced by the sound of raging voices from the floor below. Mia shot up, heart hammering as she fought to decipher the words. The argument below was escalating. A voice, sharp with a chilling rage, was undeniably Victor's. She knew listening was a betrayal, a violation. She was a ghost meant to haunt the halls of his fortress unseen. But her feet carried her forward without consent, down the hall to the precipice of the main staircase. The sound bled from his study, a room she had only glimpsed. Through the door, left slightly ajar, a sliver of light sliced the darkness. I am utterly unconcerned with the political fallout, Marcus. Someone in my circle gave them the intel. Someone I trusted. Victor's voice was a low, deadly hum. I need a name. We're on it, a second man answered, but this must be handled with finesse. Our time for finesse has expired. The mole who sold me out is still operational, with access to my business, my home, my family. Every second they walk free, they can tear down more of my world. What are your orders? Vet them all. And I mean everyone. Check their accounts, their calls, their recent meetings. This was a hit. Someone wanted my daughter broken. I want them dragged into the light. Mia pressed her body to the cold wall, her own blood pounding in her ears. A serpent in his own garden, someone he trusted, had led the wolves to Isabella, knowing the exact moment she would be defenseless. And the girl, the other man asked. The witness. How long is she staying? For as long as it takes. She's a civilian, Victor, a loose end who knows too much. If the wrong faction finds her, they won't. How can you be so certain? Because I will not allow it. A heavy silence filled the space. Mia Harper is under my protection. Anyone who so much as thinks about touching her will answer directly to me. Make sure that message is delivered with perfect clarity to anyone who might be listening. Mia's breath caught in her throat. He wasn't just hiding her from the kidnappers, but from his own people who saw her as a problem to be solved. You're growing attached, the other man noted, his voice soft. A dangerous habit. I am being responsible, not attached. There is a vast difference. Victor's voice turned to Frost. Find who did this before I decide it was you. It will be done. The echo of footsteps faded as the study door swung open. A whisper of movement, Mia vanished back into her room as light flooded the hall. She leaned against the door, fighting for breath. Her mind a frantic storm. A Judas walked among Victor's most trusted, someone who knew Isabella's schedule and had bartered her life for money or for revenge or for some other dark purpose. And now Victor was hunting this ghost while making sure Mia didn't become one. She slid back into bed but found no rest, listening to the house breathe around her, wondering just how deep this darkness went. Morning broke with a harsh, unwelcome light. Grace arrived at 7 a.m. with a breakfast tray and a summons. Mr. Hale requests you in the operations center. Mia forced down some food, dressed, and descended into the belly of the beast. The room was a nexus of silent, focused energy with more than 15 people at their stations. Victor stood at the main table, his world contained in the glow of a tablet. His gaze found her as she entered. Mia? Good, over here. She moved toward him warily. The screen showed a man in his 50s, sharply dressed, radiating an air of importance. Do you recognize him? Victor's question was completely devoid of inflection. Mia studied the face. No. Should I? He was at the bank during Isabella's abduction. Our camera feeds put him near the entrance about 10 minutes before everything went sideways. He disappeared just before the assault began. I still don't know him. His name is Richard Chen, a business partner of mine. Or he was. A muscle ticked in Victor's jaw. My people found a paper trail. For the last 6 months, he's been leaking my intelligence to a rival. He knew Isabella would be at that gala. He knew about the gap in her security. He set the entire thing in motion. An impossible cold seeped into Mia's bones. Your own partner did this. Desperation makes monsters of us all. Richard had gambling debts. His creditors gave him an out. Victor set the tablet down. We picked him up this morning. He is being encouraged to talk. What will happen to him? That depends on how cooperative he is. Victor's expression was unreadable. But his confession changes everything for you. Richard confirmed you are my only witness. He told his employers, which means they now know you exist. They will come for you, Mia. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but they will come. The walls of the room felt like they were shrinking. So, I just have to stay here? No, we are going to end this. He turned, and the full force of his attention felt like a physical weight. I am taking apart the entire organization that came after my daughter, the one Richard reported to. When there is nothing left of them, you will be safe. And how long will that take? I can't say. Days, weeks. He paused. I know this isn't the life you wanted, but it's your life now. The only question left is whether you will trust me to get you through it. Mia looked at this man, a storm in human form, who inspired both absolute devotion and primal fear, who built an army for his daughter and was now cutting the rot from his own ranks. He was every red flag she had ever been warned about. Every instinct screamed at her to run, but her instincts had also saved Isabella's life. I trust you, she whispered. A flicker of something unreadable shifted in Victor's eyes. Then stay close. Do exactly what my people tell you. And if anything at all feels wrong, you come straight to me. Is that understood? Perfectly. He gave a clipped nod, already turning back to his war table. Marcus, I want 24/7 surveillance on all of Richard's known associates from the last month. James, get his business financials. Sarah, I want his communications cracked. Every email, every text. He told someone what he knew. Find them before they can run. The room moved with a terrifying synchronized efficiency. Mia stood frozen, watching this machine of vengeance work with surgical precision. The truth of her new reality settled on her. She wasn't just a witness anymore. She was a piece on Victor Hale's board. And the game had already begun. The next 3 days dissolved into a strange, timeless haze, a rhythm she could never quite settle into. Her life became a loop, waking, eating the food Grace brought, then spending hours in the war room while Victor's people chased shadows. They asked her the same questions over and over, hoping to shake loose some new forgotten detail. She would eat lunch, watch hours of security footage, have dinner, then lie awake while the house itself seemed to thrum with a sleepless, hunting energy. Isabella, in contrast, was healing with a startling swiftness. By day 3, she was pacing the halls, ignoring her father's orders to rest. Mia found her that Wednesday afternoon in the library, swallowed by a massive leather chair, a book lying open but unread on her lap. Can I come in? Mia asked from the doorway. Isabella's face broke into a small, fragile smile. Please. It's starting to get lonely in here. Mia took the chair across from her. Silence hung between them for a moment before Isabella closed her book. My father is being completely insufferable, she admitted. He won't let me off the grounds. I'm barely allowed out of his sight. I know he's worried, but it feels like I'm in prison. It's a very safe prison, at least. Safety feels a lot like being smothered, Isabella countered, pulling her knees to her chest. How are you holding up? This must be a total nightmare for you. I'm managing. It feels unreal. My entire life is on hold because I found a wallet. You did more than that, Isabella said, her voice low. You gave my father the one thing he could hold on to in the chaos. You gave his rage a direction. Her voice fell to a whisper. You have no idea what he's like when he feels helpless. I do. I've seen it twice. The first time was when my mother died. And the second was 2 nights ago, when he thought he was going to lose me. It is not something you want to see. Mia hadn't known Victor's wife was gone. No one ever said her name. I'm so sorry about your mom. It was 8 years ago. Cancer. Isabella's eyes unfocused. After she died, Dad just built things. His business, his power, this empire. I think he believed if he was powerful enough, untouchable enough, nothing bad could ever happen to us again. He was wrong. He appears to be cast from solid iron. He is, but strength does not armor a man from sorrow or from fear. Isabella's eyes were sharp on Mia. He carries an interest in you, it's plain to see. A flush of heat crept up Mia's neck. I barely know the man. He saw you show courage when it mattered. For him, that is everything. My father withholds his trust, but when given, it is without limit. She paused. Only be warned. His world is a ravenous thing. It will devour you if you are not made of the same steel. I am beginning to see that. The door flew open. Victor stood there, his face a mask of cold purpose. Isabella, Dr. Chen is here for your vitals. Mia, operations room, now. Isabella let out a breath and got to her feet. See? Entirely unyielding. But Victor's focus had shifted from his daughter. His gaze was locked on Mia. Let's go. Mia followed him down the hall, a knot tightening in her gut. His tone was a harbinger of ill news. The ops room was a storm of quiet efficiency, the main display glowing with architectural layouts. What's happening? Mia asked. Marcus, Victor's clear second, pointed a finger at the screen. We followed Richard Chen's signals to a Vincent Zhao. He uses an import-export company to cloak his real business. Arms, narcotics, human lives. For years, that parasite has tried to bleed into my territory. Richard just handed him a key, Victor said, his voice frigid. He calculated that by taking Isabella, he could leverage me, force me to trade assets to get her back. But you got her before he could make his move, Mia realized. Exactly, which puts Vincent in an indefensible position. He has shown his entire hand for nothing, and he knows vengeance is coming. Victor's arms folded across his chest. The question now is what he does. Does he fold, or does he escalate to see it through? Marcus pulled up a new file. A photograph of a man in his 40s wearing a fine suit and the eyes of a shark. This is Vincent Zhao. Our sources say he's on the move. His crews are shifting gear to a warehouse cross town. The reason is still unknown. Mia stared at the image. Vincent Zhao lacked the look of a street thug. He had the polish of a CEO. But his eyes, there was nothing behind them. What sort of gear? Victor demanded. Electronics, comms equipment. He could be setting up a new nerve center or staging for a counter-strike. Marcus let the silence hang. There's one more thing. We've had ears on his network. Vincent knows about the witness. He knows someone saw his men grab Isabella. He's putting a price on their head. A profound hush descended upon the room. Mia could feel the weight of every single eye turning toward her. What's the bounty? Victor asked, his voice chillingly calm. 50,000 for a name, 100,000 for a location? Mia's legs gave out. She braced herself against the table. That's life-changing money for someone. It is, Victor affirmed, which is why you are not to leave this compound. No exceptions. Marcus, I want security doubled on the perimeter. Constant watch. If a stray dog comes within a mile, I want to know. Consider it done, sir. Victor's eyes found Mia's. You are safe here, I swear it, But you must grasp who we face. Vincent Zhao does not know how to lose. He is deliberate. He will cut every thread, and you are now a thread. So what's our move? Mia asked, hating the tremor that ran through her words. We end this before he can make his. Victor's jaw was granite. We go tonight. Objections erupted across the space. Marcus stepped forward. Sir, he'll be expecting that. His defenses will be at their highest. It has to be a trap. It doesn't matter. Victor, be reasonable. I am. Victor's voice cut through the noise like a blade. Every second Vincent Zhao is free, he is planning his next move, and Mia is the target. We go tonight, full force. We breach his facility, we take him, and we finish this. What if you're wrong and it is a trap? The question slipped from Mia's lips. Victor's gaze met hers, and the hard lines of his face softened by a fraction. Then we walk straight into it. We can no longer afford to let him hold the initiative. Marcus let out a sharp breath and nodded once. I'll prep the team. Same loadout as the warehouse job? Heavier. Vincent's men are professionals, not the hired muscle who took Isabella. I want full tactical kits, plates, everything, and I want snipers on the surrounding rooftops before we breach. As the team began to move, checking weapons and gear, Mia stood frozen in place. This was real. Victor was about to wage a full-scale war on a rival's fortress because of her, because of what she witnessed. I want to help. All motion stopped. Every man in the room turned to stare. Victor's face gave nothing away. Help with what? He asked, his voice perfectly controlled. I don't know. Something. There has to be something I can do. I can't just sit here while you all go risk your lives to protect me. You are not a soldier, Mia. This is not your fight. I know, but... She fumbled for the words. You said memories have layers, right? What if I'm there? What if seeing his warehouse unlocks something? Some tiny detail about the men who took her. Absolutely not, Victor countered, his tone leaving no room for argument. Tell me why. Because putting you in the line of fire makes this entire operation meaningless. Its purpose is to keep you safe. I'm already in the line of fire, Mia shot back, a surge of defiance in her voice that startled even her. You just said so. Vincent is hunting me. There's a price on my head. Hiding here just makes me an easy target. She has a point, Isabella said from the doorway. Every head snapped in her direction. She walked into the room, a little stiffly, but with total conviction in her gaze. If Vincent's people find this place, Mia is trapped. If she's with you, inside your unit, she has the best protection possible. This doesn't concern you, Isabella. Wrong. Isabella crossed her arms, looking unnervingly like her father. I was the one they took, remember? I think that gives me a say in our response. Victor looked torn, caught between fury and a flash of pride. You should be resting. I've rested, and I'm not made of glass. Her gaze shifted to Mia. Are you sure about this? You want to go with them? Mia's heart hammered her ribs, but she gave a firm nod. I'm done hiding. I have to be a part of this. Then she goes, Isabella stated. Father, let her. This isn't a democracy. No, Victor growled, his voice low and dangerous. It's my team and my call. Isabella did not flinch. But you're the one who always said the bravest choice is usually the one that scares you most. Mia is choosing to be brave. Don't stand in her way. A long silence stretched across the room. Victor looked at Mia, truly seeing her, and she forced herself to hold his gaze, though every nerve screamed to look down. He spoke at last. You come, you follow every single order, instantly. No arguments. I say jump, you ask how high, I say hide, you vanish. I tell you to stay in the vehicle no matter what, you do not move. Is that clear? It was. You will wear armor. You will not move from Marcus's side. And if things go sideways, and they probably will, you listen to his every word to stay alive. Mia could only nod, her throat too tight to speak. Victor turned to Marcus. Get her suited up. Give her the tactical brief. We move in 90 minutes. As Marcus led her to the armory, Mia's eyes met Isabella's. A quick, silent nod passed between them. Then the moment was gone, and a heavy ballistic vest was being strapped to her chest. This is insane, she whispered as Marcus cinched the straps. Completely, Wu, he agreed. But Victor was right about one thing. You've got guts. Most people would be on a flight to another country right now. I still might have a panic attack and bolt. Marcus gave a slight, grim smile. If you do, run to us, not away. We're the ones who'll get you out of this. The next hour was a blur of focused, deadly preparation. Mia watched Victor's men check their equipment, study blueprints, and confirm sniper positions. She had never seen anything like it. They moved like a Tier 1 unit, their only allegiance to Victor, and Victor himself had transformed. The refined businessman was gone, replaced by a warrior in full tactical gear, a pistol strapped to his thigh, and an earpiece connecting him to his soldiers. His presence was a palpable threat, a vacuum that stole the very breath from Mia's lungs. 5 minutes, he stated, the final accounting. His men dissolved into their assigned vehicles. Mia found herself in the second SUV, flanked by Marcus and 3 others with forgettable faces. The tremor in her hands was so violent she tucked them beneath her thighs. Marcus saw. Your first descent into the fray. Is it that obvious? You hold your form, stay near, say nothing, and move as we do. We will carry the weight of this. The column of vehicles bled from the compound, a perfect instrument of lethal grace. 4 machines cut through the city, owning the asphalt. But this time, Mia knew their true heading. This was not a drive. This was an advance on a front line. The nerve center of Vincent Zhao's enterprise was a concrete husk rotting in an industrial necropolis by the docks. As they neared, Victor's voice ghosted over the comms. Eyes in the sky, report your status. Established. We have a lens on every egress. The grounds are sterile. Copy, Team 1. You'll bleed in from the south, 2 from the north, 3. You're with me on the threshold. And mark this. Vincent is to be an asset. Every other soul, a liability. Acid churned in Mia's gut. A liability. He spoke the word like it was office furniture, not a man's life. The entire procession went dead, 2 blocks shy of their mark. The unit flowed forward with an unnerving, fluid silence. Mia remained tethered to Marcus's shadow as they threaded alleyways, closing on the compound's northern face. The building was 3 stories of poured concrete and rusted steel, a windowless monolith against the sky, its ground scoured by the cold sweep of floodlights. Mia's eyes registered 2 armed silhouettes at the main gate. Overwatch, give me a soul count. Victor's voice was a whisper in her ear. 6 sentries external. Interior population unknown. The heat signature suggests a minimum of 15 bodies, possibly more in the sublevel. Understood. We are making our entry. Mia watched Victor's team peel away, their movements a dark and terrible ballet. She had never witnessed such a thing. They moved like wraiths, their feet barely kissing the ground. And then the night shattered. Victor flashed a hand sign, and the southern doors were breached. A concussive blast tore through the quiet. Curses erupted from inside, answered by the sharp, angry retort of gunfire. Marcus hauled Mia behind the steel wall of a shipping container. "Ground! Do not breathe from this spot until I give the word." More shots echoed. The tir of rifles, the roar of shotguns. A man began to scream, a sound that ended abruptly. The radio crackled with cold updates. Team 1 engaged, 3 hostiles down, pushing to the second floor. Team 2 is in, meeting heavy contact. Mia pressed herself to the cold steel, her heart a wild drum threatening to burst from her chest. This was not a screen. The weapons were real. The bodies were falling. Then came Victor's voice, sharp enough to draw blood. "Target is on level 2, northeast corner, moving to acquire." Another volley of gunfire. An explosion rocked the ground she lay on. Mia flinched, biting back a cry. "Mia!" Marcus's tone was a steel command. "We're moving. They're flushing targets out the north exit. We need a new angle." He pulled her to her feet and they ran, a frantic, low scramble to the cover of a concrete barrier. From there, Mia could see the northern doors. A clutch of armed men spilled out, firing wildly as they ran for their lives. One of their faces was a sickening echo in her memory. Mia's breath caught in her throat. "Marcus, that man, the one in the dark jacket, it's him. I see him from the night of the grab. He was on the corner. I marked him as a civilian waiting for a ride, but..." The pieces fell into a grim mosaic. He wasn't waiting. He was watching. He was the eye. Marcus was already on his comms. "Target spotted. North exit. Dark jacket, armed. Possible spotter from the initial event. Copy. Where to take him?" Victor's voice was a flat line. 3 of his specters converged on the man with an inhuman geometry. The target ran, made it 10 feet, and was then simply erased. His weapon spun away, clattering across the concrete. Inside, the firefight peaked, then died into a sudden, shocking silence. A voice crackled. "Status on the interior. The package is secure. 12 hostiles terminated. 4 have surrendered. 3 broke east. Overwatch, you see the runners." "Negative. They've been swallowed by the warehouse maze. We have no eyes." Victor's order sliced through the static. "Collapse the perimeter. Move Vincent, the secondary location. All other teams. Sanitize and extract." Marcus stood, offering a hand to Mia. She took it, her own limbs too consumed by tremors to function. Around them, Victor's crew moved through the aftermath, harvesting weapons, confirming kills, and processing the living with a chilling lack of ceremony. The entire brutal affair, from its first breath to its last, lasted less than 15 minutes. Victor appeared from the maw of the building, his gear flecked with a dark spray her mind refused to name. 2 of his men half carried a figure between them. Vincent Zhao. His fine suit was shredded, his face a ruin of blood, his hands bound behind him. Victor's eyes found Mia as he closed the distance. "Are you damaged?" She could only manage a nod, her voice having fled. "Good, you were effective." The identification was vital. He gestured to Marcus. "Take her back to the house. I will deal with Vincent." "Wait." Mia finally found a sliver of voice. "What are you going to do with him?" Victor's face was a mask of placid control. "I am going to ask him questions. He is going to give me answers." And if he doesn't, he will. The absolute finality in his voice was a current of ice down her spine. Go with Marcus. I will see you at the estate. He turned and was gone before she could argue, already murmuring new orders into his comms. Mia watched him go, watched them load Vincent Zhao into a dark van, and watched the entire machine of death evaporate as if it were nothing more than a morning commute. For them, she realized it was. Marcus led her to their SUV. The drive back was a void of silence. Mia stared out at the passing city lights, her mind trying to frame the portrait of horror she had just witnessed. The violence, the precision, the casual way Victor ordained death. This was the world he owned. This was the power he had spoken of. Arriving at the estate, Grace met them with a steaming cup and a face etched with worry. Mr. Hale called. He said you were a great help. All I did was stand there and shake. You put a face to a ghost. That is no small thing. Grace pressed the cup into her hands. Drink. Go take a shower. Try to rest. Mr. Hale will want to speak with you when he returns. Mia moved like a puppet, following the instructions. The water in the shower was hot enough to sting, but it did nothing to touch the profound cold that had taken root in her bones. She was haunted by images of fire from a barrel, the memory of screams, and the shape of men falling. Lying on the bed, wrapped only in a towel, she heard a soft rap on the door. Isabella stood in the doorway. "Can I come in?" Mia nodded weakly. Isabella sat on the edge of the mattress. "My father called. He told me what happened, that you saw one of the men who took me. I did nothing. I just knew his face." "That isn't nothing, Mia. It's everything." Isabella paused. "How are you holding up?" "I don't know. Shaken, lost. I saw people die tonight." "I know, and I'm so sorry you had to see that." Is this what your life is always like?" Isabella sighed, a sound heavy with years. "Not always, but often enough. My father exists in a world where the rules don't apply, where money and power write their own laws. I grew up watching him navigate that world, watching him do things that would break other people." Her eyes locked with Mia's. "But he isn't a monster. He is a man who will burn down the world to protect the people he loves. Does that make it right?" "That's a question I don't have an answer for. It isn't my place to judge him." Isabella stood. "But I can tell you this. He will keep you safe no matter what it costs. It's the only way he knows how to be." After she left, Mia dressed and tried to find sleep, but every time she closed her eyes, the raid played on a loop. The concrete tomb, the storm of bullets, the broken face of Vincent Zhao. She was still awake when the crunch of tires on gravel announced his return hours later. Footsteps in the hall, Victor's voice, low and commanding. Then, a knock on her door. "Come in," she managed to say. Victor entered, looking hollowed out by exhaustion. He had changed clothes, but a stark white bandage was now taped to his left forearm. "You're wounded," Mia observed. "It's nothing. A ricochet." He sank into the chair by her window. "I'm here to give you a report. Vincent was remarkably cooperative." "What did he say?" "He confirmed Richard Chen sold him the intel on Isabella. He also confessed to setting up the abduction and provided a complete list of names. Every person in his crew who helped plan or execute it. The man I saw, is he on that list?" "He is." "His name is Tommy Liu. He's worked for Vincent for 3 years. His job was to survey the location and give the final go-ahead to the team when Isabella arrived." Victor's expression hardened into an unreadable mask. He was also assigned to watch you. The blood in Mia's veins turned to ice. What? After the first attempt failed, Vincent put him on you. He spent the last week studying you. He knew where you lived, your class schedule, your entire routine. The plan was to grab you tonight during our raid, but your actions stopped that. We have him. He's in custody with Vincent and the others. Victor leaned closer. It's finished, Mia. The threat to you is gone. Vincent's network is dismantled. You are safe. She expected relief to wash over her. Instead, a cold, hollow space opened in her gut. What happens to them? To Vincent and his men? That is not your concern. This is my fault, she whispered, the violence of the night finally breaking through. They died because of me. Victor's voice cut through her guilt, devoid of emotion. They died because they sided with the killer. That is the only truth. He insisted she was not to blame. She hadn't started the fight. She had only intervened to save a life. A clear line. Or was it? She hugged herself, murmuring, I still feel responsible. That is not a weight you need to carry, he countered, getting to his feet. Get some rest. Tomorrow we'll start getting you back to your normal life. You've earned that. As he reached the door, she called out, Thank you for stopping them from killing me. He paused, his eyes meeting hers. For a brief second, a crack showed in his formidable composure. You're welcome. Then he was gone, leaving Mia alone in the quiet. This time, sleep came without a fight, a fragile peace settling over her. The nightmare that began with a scream in the storm finally felt like it had an ending, or so it seemed. Mia woke to the strange sensation of sunlight and birdsong not a racing heart. For the first time in what felt like a lifetime, her dreams had not been a gallery of horrors. She lay still, absorbing the calm before memories of the night before returned. The raid, seeing Vincent Zhao's world crumble, and Victor's declaration that the war was won. A soft knock broke her reverie. Grace was at the door with a breakfast tray and a peaceful smile. Mr. Hale would like to see you in his study whenever you are ready. There's no rush. Mia ate slowly, thinking over Victor's promise to give her back her old life. She should have been eager, ready to step out of this violent world and forget it. And yet her gut told her the story was not over. After dressing, she found his study, a room she had only ever passed. She knocked, heard his call to enter, and stepped inside. The room was a fortress of books with a massive desk commanding its center. Victor sat behind it, immersed in documents, looking less like a field commander and more like a predator in a boardroom. He acknowledged her with a nod. Mia, please sit. She took the leather chair opposite him. He put down his pen, leaned back, and examined her. How are you? I'm not sure, she admitted, her hands twisting together. You said it was over, that I was safe, but I don't feel like it is. Explain the feeling. She hunted for the words. It's like I'm bracing for another blow, as if there's one last terrible thing left unresolved, just out of sight. A minute shift in Victor's expression told her she'd hit the mark. Your instincts are sharp. There is something else you need to know. A knot of pure dread tightened in Mia's stomach. I thought you said the threat was gone. The immediate one is. Vincent's crew is shattered. His men are either captured or in the wind. You are safe from them. He paused, tapping one finger on the desk in a slow, deliberate beat. However, Vincent's debriefing gave us something unexpected. What was it? He wasn't the man at the top. He had a silent partner. Someone with the resources and power to challenge me. Someone whose goal wasn't just money for my daughter, but revenge. Victor's jaw tightened. And that person is still free. The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. Who? That is the problem. I have no idea. Vincent played ignorant, claiming he only dealt with go-betweens. But a shadow funded this whole thing. They hired Richard Chen. They pulled all the strings from behind the curtain. That tremor returned to Mia's hands. Then this isn't over. Not completely, Victor said, turning to look out the window. But you are still safe. You are not the real target. They hurt people I care for to get to me. As long as you are here with me, you are protected. As long as I'm with you, Mia repeated. What happens to me when I leave? Victor turned back, his gaze locking with hers. That is what we need to discuss. I think it's wise for you to stay here just for a bit until we can identify and deal with this new threat. And how long is a bit? I can't say, days, weeks, however long it takes. Mia shot to her feet, her composure finally cracking. You can't just keep me here. I have a life, classes, friends, a family that's probably terrified. I can't just disappear into your fortress while you fight your secret wars. I'm not asking you to disappear. I'm asking you to survive. By hiding? By letting you fight for me? These were never your battles, Mia. They're mine. You were just caught in the chaos. His voice softened, becoming almost kind. My only job is to protect you. I know that, and I'm grateful, but I can't live like this. Always waiting, always needing your permission to breathe. She hugged herself tightly. I need some control. Victor was quiet for a long moment, then went to his desk and picked up a folder. There may be another option. What kind of option? He opened it, revealing photos and what looked like legal documents. The person who paid Vincent made one mistake. A shell corporation was used for the payments. We traced it to a law firm downtown that creates these kinds of ghost companies. So someone in that firm knows who Vincent's partner is. And you plan to find out. Exactly, but this has to be handled with care. We can't raid a law office like we did Vincent's compound. This needs a smarter plan. Something covert. He watched her with a sharp, assessing look. Something done by a person who doesn't scream danger. Mia's pulse started to quicken. You're asking me to help? I am giving you a choice. You can stay here, safe but on the sidelines, or you can help us get the intel and be part of ending this permanently. How could I help? I'm not a spy. I don't have any training. You won't need any. We just need someone to get inside the building and plant a device so we can get into their network. The firm offers free estate planning sessions. You make an appointment, pretend to be a client, and my tech team will talk you through the rest. That sounds completely insane. It's a risk, Victor admitted, but it is the most direct way to get to the person who is still a threat to you. Once we have a name, we can make our move, and your safety will be guaranteed. Mia paced the room, her mind a storm. It was a crazy plan. Yet one thing Victor said resonated deeply inside her. She was tired of feeling powerless, of being protected like a priceless object. If I do this, she said, her voice surprisingly strong, I need you to promise me that I can leave when it's done, that you won't find another reason to keep me here. You have my word. And if it goes bad, if I get caught, my team will pull you out. I will be watching every single second. You will not be on your own. She stopped pacing and faced him. Why me? You have to have professionals for this. I do. But any new client they see gets a background check. One of my people would raise flags. You, however, are a ghost. You have no file, no connection to my world. Your appearance is your shield, a university student crafting her path. The cover is impeccable. Or a disaster waiting to happen. That remains a possibility. Victor's raw candor was unnerving. I will be direct with you, Mia. Failure is a risk, but one I deem acceptable, and I have faith in your ability to prevail. You can't know that for sure. I do. You have proven it since the moment you found that wallet. You hold a strength you cannot see in yourself. Mia fought the urge to argue, to call his logic madness. Yet a core part of her, the part that dialed his number, that needed to witness the raid, had already surrendered. Fine. The words tumbled out. I'll do it. A shadow of what might have been relief passed over Victor's features. My thanks. Don't thank me yet. I could bring this whole thing crashing down. You won't. He touched a button on his desk phone. Marcus, assemble the tech team in the study. The law firm operation is a go. The next 2 hours were a whirlwind education in corporate sabotage that left Mia reeling. Marcus presented Sarah Chen, no connection to Richard. He clarified, the mind behind Victor's technological arsenal. A woman in her 30s, Sarah had penetrating eyes and a no-nonsense air, her focus as sharp as Victor's. The hardware is simple, Sarah said, holding up a tiny USB stick. You plug it into any machine on their network. In under 30 seconds, our program installs and seizes total control of their system. What if someone sees me? Your appointment is timed for late afternoon. The office will be thin with staff at lunch or in meetings. We've run surveillance. You will have a 15-minute window where the floor is practically empty except for you. Almost empty, Mia reflected, her doubt rising. Marcus cut in. Listen, this isn't easy, but it is completely doable. We'll have you wired to hear everything. If the situation feels compromised, you walk away. No one will stop you. And if they do, Victor's voice, cold and sharp, sliced through the tension. Then we will come for you. I will be parked in a car 2 blocks away. You will not for a second be out of our surveillance. On a large monitor, Sarah projected a floor plan of the firm. The target is on the 3rd floor of the Meridian building downtown. You'll go through the main entrance, ride the elevator to 3, and check in with the receptionist. Your meeting is with a junior associate, Jennifer Walsh. She's 26, a recent graduate who handles the initial client screenings. So, what's my story? It's close to the truth. You're a college student, shaken by a traumatic event, looking to put your affairs in order. It isn't a stretch for someone young to want a will after staring death in the face. She will go over the basics and probably try to upsell you on other services. Sarah indicated a spot on the blueprint. In the middle of her pitch, you'll excuse yourself to the lavatory. It's located right here, down this hall. On your return trip, you will walk directly past the records room. That is the chamber where we need the device planted. Won't the door be locked? It should be. However, we've arranged for a fire safety check to happen during your meeting. Our man, the inspector, will have left all doors on his path unlocked. The records room will be open when you pass. Mia's eyes traced the layout on the screen, her mind racing to burn the image into her memory. There are so many things that can go wrong. "Welcome to my world," Victor said, his tone flat. But Sarah's unit has done this type of insertion before. The method works. "Usually," Sarah amended, which did nothing to calm Mia's rattled nerves. They used the rest of the morning for practice runs. Sarah walked her through plugging in the device, the best spot to hide it on her person, and how to act if she was walked in on. Marcus drilled her on conversational tactics and projecting an aura of calm while under pressure. By noon, Mia's head was throbbing. Isabella found her later in the library, her face pale. "Father told me what you've agreed to," Isabella said. "You don't have to go through with this. You can stay here while they find another way." "How long would that take?" "I don't know. It could be weeks. It might be months." "I can't wait that long. I need to get my life back." Isabella sat down next to her. "I understand. But Mia, the people we are dealing with are lethal, far beyond Vincent and his thugs. If they link you to this, your father promised he would protect me. He will. He would give his life to do it. That is exactly what I'm afraid of," Isabella murmured. "I've already lost my mother. I can't stand to lose him too." Mia could see the stark fear Isabella was trying to mask. "Do you really think this could get him killed?" "I think my father takes chances that would terrify a normal person because he believes he can manage every outcome. But he can't. Nobody can." She grasped Mia's hand. "Just be careful, both of you." The meeting was scheduled for 2:00. At 1:30, Mia slipped into an SUV with Marcus and Sarah, Victor following them in a separate car. The journey downtown was heavy with silence, Mia's stomach churning with dread. Sarah wired her up, concealing a tiny microphone inside her collar, invisible to the eye. "Remember, we can hear everything. If you are in danger, your safe word is confused. That's the signal to pull you out." "Confused," she echoed. "You'll be all right, Barca," Marcus said, though his own tension was palpable. "Just breathe. Stay in character. You're just a spooked student who needs legal advice. It's not that far from reality." In the city's core, the Meridian building rose, a sheer facade of glass and steel. Mia stepped out of the SUV, her legs weak, clutching her backpack tightly. The USB drive in her pocket felt like a dense, heavy stone. "We're with you." Victor's voice, piped through Sarah's earpiece, was an anchor from 2 blocks north. "You are not alone." A small, imperceptible nod was her only response as she walked inside. The lobby was a cold expanse of marble and steel, a monument to corporate power. She found the elevator, pressed the button for the 3rd floor, and watched the numbers climb. The law firm's reception area was a symphony of muted grays and deep blues. A young woman sat typing behind a stylish, curved desk. She glanced up as Mia approached. "Can I help you?" "I have a 2:00 meeting with Jennifer Walsh. The name is Mia Harper." The receptionist checked her monitor. "Yes, I see it. I'll let her know you're here. Please have a seat." Mia collapsed into a guest chair, her heart hammering a wild rhythm against her ribs. Through the glass walls of a conference room, men in suits drifted like fish in an aquarium, unaware of her real mission. "You're doing fine," Victor's voice whispered, a calming force. "Just hold it together." A blonde woman in her mid-20s with a practiced smile stepped out of a hallway. Mia Harper, I'm Jennifer Walsh. Thanks for coming. Mia stood. They shook hands, and Jennifer guided her down the hall into a small office. She pointed to a chair before taking a seat behind her own desk. So, you're here about estate planning? Yes, I was involved in a bad situation. It made me think about what would happen to my things if something happened to me. The lie came out smoothly, its roots tangled in a piece of the truth. That's very responsible of you. Not many people your age consider these things. Nor. Jennifer slid a form across the desk. Let's start with the basics. Do you have any major assets like property, stocks, or bank accounts? As Jennifer walked her through the questions, Mia forced herself to stay present. Answer her, look engaged, wait for your moment. Through the walls, she heard the voices of men talking about a fire inspection. That was her cue. Excuse me, Mia cut in during a pause. Could I use the restroom? Of course, it's just down the hall, second door on your right. Mia left the office, feeling as if she were watching herself from a distance. The corridor was empty. She went into the bathroom and waited for exactly 90 seconds, the way Sarah had drilled her. When she emerged, the records room was 3 doors down. Its door was slightly ajar, just as promised, the lock disarmed. A quick scan of the hallway confirmed she was alone before she slipped inside the room, a tight space crowded with metal cabinets and boxes of files. On a desk in the corner sat a computer terminal, its screen black. Her hand shook as Mia pulled out the USB and walked toward it. Good, Victor's voice coached. You're calm, now plug it in. Her fingers trembled so badly she almost dropped it as she searched for the port. It was an older machine, the port hidden on the front. She found it, pushed the drive in with a faint click, and the monitor blinked on. A progress bar appeared, crawling across the screen with agonizing slowness. 30 seconds, Sarah whispered. That's all the time it needs. 29, 28, 27. The sound of footsteps echoed from down the hall. Mia's blood ran cold. Someone was coming. The steps were getting closer. Her eyes were locked on the progress bar, which had barely moved halfway across the screen. Mia, breathe, Victor ordered. If they find you, you were looking for the bathroom and got lost. 15 seconds, 14, 13. The footsteps stopped right outside the door. Hello? Is anyone in here? Mia's mind went blank. All she could do was stare at the screen, at the bar creeping toward completion. Mia, answer him, Marcus urged. Now. Sorry, Mia called out, her voice a reedy, unstable thing. I was trying to find the restroom. I think I made a wrong turn. The door swung open. A man in his 50s stood in the doorway wearing an expensive suit, his face a mask of sharp suspicion. This place, the file room, it wasn't the restroom. She knew that. I'm sorry, she whispered. This whole legal process is unsettling. I was confused. Mia slid away from the terminal, her entire being focused on him not seeing the screen. Could you show me where the restroom is? His gaze was a scalpel, and Mia was sure he could hear the frantic rhythm of her heart. Then, the hardness in his face softened by a fraction. End of the hall. You'll find it. Thank you. She forced a measured walk past him, fighting the screaming impulse to run. As the door clicked shut, she caught his mutter about the younger generation. In her ear, Sarah's voice was like ice. The transfer is done. You did it. The building had to be left behind. Mia found the right door, locked herself inside a stall, and swallowed back the bile rising in her throat. When she emerged, her hands were shaking too violently to properly grip the sink. She threw cold water on her face, took 3 ragged breaths, and willed herself back to Jennifer's office. "My apologies," she said, taking her seat again. "I seem to have gotten turned around." "No trouble. Now where were we?" Mia sat through 10 more minutes of questions before Jennifer started discussing fees. Mia feigned serious thought, clutched a brochure, and vowed to call when she had made her decision. "There's no rush," Jennifer said smoothly, walking her to the lobby. "This is a life-altering choice. We are here whenever you're ready." Mia offered her gratitude, shook the offered hand again, and departed the office. She rode the elevator down, moved through the lobby, and stepped out onto the bustling street. As predicted, the SUV was waiting. The second she was inside, all the strength fled her legs. "You did it," Marcus said, his voice filled with an uncharacteristic pride. "That was textbook perfect." "He almost caught me." "But he didn't." "You kept calm, you improvised, and you saw the mission through." A faint smile graced his lips. "Welcome to the team." Sarah was already immersed in her laptop, watching the data pour from the device Mia had planted. "We have access." It was complete infiltration of the entire network. Navigating the data would be a gargantuan effort, but the prize was now within their reach. Victor's car pulled up beside them. He got out, his eyes appraising her as he opened Mia's door. "Are you all right?" "I think so. That was terrifying." "You were flawless." He guided her out of the SUV. "Come, we're heading back to the estate. You need to decompress." At the mansion, Mia collapsed onto a sofa in the library while Grace brought her tea. Her hands were still unsteady, the aftermath of adrenaline giving way to a bone-deep exhaustion. Isabella discovered her there an hour later. "Father said you were successful, that you planted the device." "Just barely. I was seconds from being exposed." "But you were not." Isabella took a seat next to her. "Do you grasp the weight of this? You just achieved what seasoned operatives cannot. You walked into an unknown space and prevailed. I was lucky." "Perhaps. But luck favors the one who holds their nerve while the world is falling apart." She squeezed Mia's hand softly. "I am truly proud of you." That evening, Sarah's team found what they were looking for. Mia was called to the command center where Victor stared at the main screen, his face a mask. "We have them," he said flatly. "The person funding Vincent's entire operation, the one who put a target on Isabella." "Who is it?" Victor cast an image across the display. The picture revealed a woman in her 40s, radiating a cool, corporate elegance at a formal event. "Diane Morrison. She runs Morrison Industries, a titan in the shipping world. To the public, she's a legitimate captain of industry. The truth? She's the linchpin of a massive criminal organization on the East Coast. So why target you? Because I took something she wanted. 5 years ago, I bought a shipping company she was after. I outbid her, outplayed her, and it cost her millions. She's been looking for payback ever since." Victor's jaw set like stone. "She thought that hurting Isabella would shatter me. When it didn't, she told Vincent to start cleaning house to erase any connection back to her. So she's still trying to have me killed." "Yes." The word was a final, cold pronouncement. Mia forced out the question that had to be asked. "So what's our move?" Victor turned to her, his gaze direct. "Now, we bring this to a permanent end. Diane Morrison built her kingdom in the shadows. She is paranoid, heavily guarded, and works through proxies. But we have her now. We have financial trails tying her to Vincent. We have communication logs where she gave the kidnapping order. He folded his arms. We are going to set her world on fire, and when the smoke clears, you will finally be safe. How? That's the piece we're building. Diane is not Vincent. She's on another level of intelligence, with far greater influence. Taking her down is not a simple raid. This needs to be a masterpiece of strategy. He looked toward Marcus. I need a complete workup, everything we have on Morrison, financial crimes, underworld connections, anything that will get the Federal's attention. If we can't get to her directly, we'll bury her in lawsuits. That could take months, Marcus countered. Then we move faster. Victor's voice was like sharpened steel. I want plans on my desk by dawn. Multiple options. I don't care if it means calling in every chit I hold or spending every last cent. Diane Morrison is not getting away. As the team broke off, Mia stood frozen. So this was her life now. A pawn in a war between giants, her existence hanging on Victor's fortune and his resolve to crush an enemy she had never known. I am sorry. Victor's voice was low. She realized the others had left. I know this is not the life you would have chosen. None of this was my choice, but it is my life. Our life, he corrected her with quiet intensity. After a moment, he spoke again. For what it's worth, you've shown a bravery no one should ever have to possess. You are an extraordinary woman, Mia Harper. My mind is breaking with fear. I know, and yet you are still here, still in the fight. That is why you are extraordinary. He left her alone in the silent room, her own face reflected over Diane Morrison's image 1,000 times. Mia stared at the face of the woman who had engineered her destruction, trying to connect the polished CEO with the beast who ordered people dead. This was the world Victor lived in, where business and bloodshed were two sides of the same coin. A place where a hostile takeover wasn't just talk, it was a literal death warrant. Where one good deed could cast you into a bottomless pit. And Mia was a prisoner here until Victor could carve a way out. If a way out even existed. Doubt crept in as she stood in the stillness, and for the first time, with chilling certainty, Mia wondered if she would ever be free again. The next 48 hours became a chaotic blur that left Mia feeling unmoored. Victor's people worked in a ceaseless, round-the-clock frenzy, constructing a legal assault against Diane Morrison that grew more powerful with each passing hour. Records of laundered money, witness statements tying her to organized crime, intercepted messages that confirmed the assassination order. The evidence piled up, each piece another bar in the cell being built around her. But Diane was not standing still. On the second day, Marcus burst into the command center where Mia and Sarah were sifting through data, his face grim. We have a major problem. Diane knows we're coming. She's dumping assets, shredding files, and getting ready to disappear. We've got a leak. Victor looked up from a monitor, his expression hardening to stone. Who? We don't know yet, but she's digging in for war. Her people are on the move, turning her properties into fortresses. She's calling in every marker from every gun she has on her payroll. Marcus threw surveillance images onto the main screen. This was an hour ago at her HQ. The footage showed men with assault rifles taking up positions around a corporate tower, running weapons checks, creating a kill zone. A cold knot of fear tightened in Mia's gut. This was no longer about business. This was about to be a massacre. "How many guns does she have on the field?" Victor asked, his voice sharp and cold. "We've confirmed at least 30, probably more inside the building, and she's brought in pros, ex-special operations, everyone. These aren't Vincent's street thugs. These are trained killers. So are we." "Victor?" Marcus's tone was a clear warning. "If we hit that building, people are going to die. A lot of them. We might not all walk away. And the alternative? We let her burn the evidence, let her vanish, only to come at us again when we've lowered our guard." Victor stood, slamming his palms on the table. "No, we hit them now, while we still hold the advantage." "There has to be another way," Mia heard herself say. The room went dead silent as every single person turned to look at her. Warmth bloomed across her cheeks, but she forged ahead. "You spoke of a legal path, of assembling proof for law enforcement. Why not just surrender it? Allow the system to handle Diane rather than ignite a conflict. Because the system is cumbersome and deliberate," Victor countered. "By the time they issue warrants and build a case, Diane and every trace of evidence will have vanished. We must move now, even if moving now guarantees more death." The query settled in the strained air. Victor's jaw tightened. Mia braced for a swift rebuke, but his eyes shifted, a flicker of something new within them. "What is your idea?" Mia's mind spun, a terrifying concept solidifying as she spoke it aloud. "What if we build a careful lie? Lure her into seeing triumph just ahead, enough to abandon all thought of running. Then we trap her with evidence she can't erase. How? The specifics are still forming, but we need her to confess. We need her own voice on tape, recounting every crime. That gives us absolute power." Sarah edged closer, her attention sharp. "A sting. We set a meeting in our turf, wire it for sound and picture, and let her condemn herself with her own mouth. She'll never walk into it," Marcus argued. "She knows she's a target." "She would," Mia said softly, "if she thought she was about to get the one prize she craves most. Me." An utter stillness descended upon them. Victor's gaze met hers, his face an unreadable mask. "Unacceptable." "Why?" "Because she wants me dead." "What happens if she senses an opening? A weakness? It's suicide. You're no operative. You're not equipped for someone like Diane Morrison. I wasn't equipped to see a man abducted, or to bug a room, or to survive any of this. But I did." Mia stood, her hands shaking but her tone steady. "You called me a survivor. Show me you meant it. Let me help you end it." No. Victor's refusal was a steel door slamming shut. "I will not send you toward that threat. We will find another way. There is no other way, and you know it." The sentence broke free before Mia could stop it. "You said it. Diane is brilliant, suspicious, and untouchable. The only thing that would make her careless is the chance to eliminate me for good. Let's use that. By making you the lure, by serving you to a woman who's already ordered your death." Victor's control was cracking, raw fury showing through. "I brought you here to keep you alive, not to offer you up as a sacrifice. I'm not asking to be a sacrifice. I'm asking you to trust me." Mia moved toward him, meeting his stare. "You've waged this fight for me, protected me, called every shot. But this is my life on the line. Don't I get a say in how I save it?" Victor just looked at her, his expression a war zone of conflict. His gaze finally drifted to Marcus. Was this feasible? Could they build a trap that would likely work? Marcus and Sarah shared a quiet, significant glance. It could be done, with the perfect stage, a place Diane saw as neutral territory, but which they completely commanded, and they needed an ironclad reason for Mia to be there, a narrative Diane would swallow whole. The Pier 17 warehouse, Sarah interjected. Still on Morrison's books, but it's been ours for 3 weeks. Since we broke Vincent's operation, she has no idea. We could sell it as Mia's last refuge before disappearing, Marcus finished. Diane would jump at that, her chance to eliminate a lone, trapped witness. A deep, tense quiet stretched before Victor's eyes settled on Mia again. If we do this, and that's a massive if, you follow every order instantly. You'll wear armor, you'll have an open comm line. The second it goes sideways, you're pulled out. That's the deal. Agreed. I'm not being dramatic, Mia. One mistake turns this from a plan into a disaster. Men have died for smaller slips, I understand. His hard stare locked with hers for another beat. Then he gave a clipped, unwilling nod. All right. Sarah, prep the site. I want total visual, audio, and more than one way out. Marcus, get teams into the surrounding structures. If Diane shows up with her whole army, I want us ready to match it. He turned to Mia. And you will spend the next 12 hours learning everything you need to live through this. I will not lose another person. The preparation was a brutal, adrenaline-fueled crash course. Marcus pushed her on motion, taking cover and spotting danger. Sarah taught her the hidden recording gear and how to angle her body for clear sound. Victor ran lines with her, the conversation, the tactics for holding Diane's focus, the control to stay still when instinct begged her to run. Isabella found Mia that night in the library, memorizing the warehouse layout. Dad told me about it, she said, sitting down. He's a wreck, even if he won't show it. I'm a wreck too, Mia admitted, but I can't live like this anymore. Always watching, waiting for the next attack. It has to be over. I get that. I do. But Mia, Isabella's voice was soft. You don't owe us anything. Not me, and not my father. You've already done more than was ever asked. This isn't about owing anyone. This is about taking my life back. Your father has protected me, fought for me, and run this war, and I'm grateful. But I can't just be the one who gets rescued anymore. I have to be one of the fighters. Isabella gave a sad, small smile. You have my mother's soul. She was also silent until something truly mattered. When that happened, she became the strongest person in the room. She squeezed Mia's hand. Promise me you'll come back safe. Dad already lost someone he loved. I don't think he could survive it again. The words were a weight on Mia's heart. He cares for me? Are you really asking? The man doesn't sleep. He's so worried about you. He looks in on you 3 times a night. He destroys anyone who hints at you being in danger. Isabella's hand clenched. My father doesn't let people in. But he's let you in, and that means you matter to him. Deeply. Sleep was a stranger to Mia. She lay in the pitch black, thinking of Victor's silent strength, of the look in his eyes that saw her as both invaluable and breakable. Isabella's declaration resonated in her thoughts, every word pointing back to the one decision that set it all off, choosing to steal a wallet over staying invisible. Her entire life had been an exercise in being unseen, a pledge to make no waves, but one choice threw her into a universe she couldn't imagine, a savage world of force and influence built on a fierce, instinctual protection of kin. Tomorrow she would face the woman who wanted her dead. Tomorrow the horror would end, or she would be another body caught in the gravity of Victor's dangerous world. But tonight, she was just Mia Harper, lying awake in a strange home, considering where her bravery was born. The sunrise felt more like a verdict than a new day. Grace brought a breakfast Mia's stomach rejected. Sarah arrived with the listening device, a piece of tech that could hear a whisper from 30 feet away. Marcus went through a security rite, checking her vest 3 times, making sure every plate was set, and Victor, a quiet guard at the command room door, had an expression of such deep grief it almost broke her will. He was sending someone he valued to a possible death. "We can call this off," he said low, as the others gave them space. "There are other ways. You don't have to." "I do." Mia fastened the last strap of her armor. "For me, and for you. You can't keep fighting for me, and I can't keep letting you. I've been a soldier my entire adult life. It's the only thing I know how to do." "I know, but this war is mine." Her eyes held his. "I'm not telling you to stop protecting me. I'm asking you to let me stand with you, not behind you." A crack formed in Victor's steely composure. He lifted a hand, its warmth a sudden shock as it rested on her cheek. "You are an incredibly strong woman, you know that?" "I'm terrified. That's what makes you strong." His hand dropped. "After this is over, we need to talk." "About what's next, about us." "What do you mean?" I mean, I don't want you to leave. I mean, Isabella was right. My worry for you goes beyond any reason. I mean," he stopped, giving his head a slight shake. "Later. That conversation would have to wait." Before a response could form on Mia's lips, Marcus's voice crackled over the comms. "We've got movement. Diane's people are leaving the estate. Their heading is the pier." In a heartbeat, Victor transformed. The brief flicker of vulnerability was gone, replaced by the glacial strategist. "What are their numbers?" 10 vehicles, around 40 individuals. "He's using an entire private military for one college girl," Victor noted, his voice all steel. "Acknowledged. All teams, move to your final positions. Mia, you're with me until the warehouse. Then, as practiced, you go in alone." The drive to Pier 17 was both a flash and an eternity. In the back of the armored SUV, the vest was a suffocating weight, and the mic a cold secret against her skin as she mentally replayed every step of the plan. Stay composed. Keep her talking. Get in front of the cameras. Get the confession. Get out. The plan was elegant, terrifying, and fundamentally suicidal. The warehouse emerged from the gloom, a brutalist concrete giant flanked by rusting shipping containers, casting a shadow over the harbor's inky water. Victor's people had already vanished, swallowed by the city itself. Snipers were nested on rooftops. Tactical squads were poised to storm at his word. He had summoned his own army, ready to drag her back from the fire. The vehicle stopped a block away. Victor turned to her. "This is your last chance to walk away." "I'm not walking away." "Then know this. You are not going in there alone. We have eyes on you. You will not be out of our sight for even a single second." His gaze held hers. "And Mia, come back to us." That was a command, not a request. A tight nod was all she could manage, her throat too constricted for words as she slipped out of the vehicle. The walk to the warehouse felt like a march through water, a surreal journey where her body moved on autopilot while her mind shrieked to turn back. Still, she pushed onward, foot after foot, until her fingers brushed the cold steel of the door. The inside was precisely as the blueprints had shown, a vast echoing space supported by concrete pillars, littered with junk to suggest a recent, panicked departure. The cameras were invisible, but she knew their exact positions. The mics would hear a whisper. She found her mark near the center of the empty floor and began her wait. 15 minutes crawled by like an hour before the deep thrum of approaching engines reached her ears. The doors burst inward with the force of an explosion, punctuated by sharp, shouted orders. The main bay door ground open, framing Diane Morrison and 6 men armed with heavy assault rifles. She was smaller than Mia had imagined, dressed in a ridiculously expensive coat, her hair pulled back with severe precision. Her eyes, though, were like chips of flint, sweeping the room before they settled and fixed on Mia. "So, you're the witness," Diane said, her voice a strange mix of high society grace and raw contempt. The university girl who didn't know her place. Mia willed herself into stillness, determined to show nothing. "I never wanted any of this. No, you just happened to be in the wrong place at the worst possible time. You saw what you shouldn't have, and then you made a phone call that cost me a fortune in both money and manpower." Diane stepped forward as her men spread out, their formation a closing net. "You should have just kept walking, Mia Harper. You should have forgotten it all. Instead, you became a loose end that needs to be tied off. By killing me? Is that how you solve all your problems?" "Only when necessary. And you, my dear, have become a very necessary problem to solve." Diane offered a smile that held no warmth. Victor Hale kept you tucked away in his little fortress, but he couldn't protect you forever. You had to come out sometime, and my people would have been there when you did. "So you set up the kidnapping," Mia stated, her voice loud and clear for the hidden devices. "You hired Vincent Zhao to take Isabella Hale." "I hired Vincent for many things. Grabbing Victor's daughter was just one. I needed him to feel the same loss I did when he torched my entire operation. I needed him to feel helpless, to feel that brand of terror." Diane's face hardened. "But the fool failed me, which brings us to now." "Yes, it does," Mia's voice shot back. "With you confessing on tape to kidnapping, conspiracy, and attempted murder." Diane's eyes narrowed into razor-thin slits. "What?" "This whole building is wired. It's watching and it's listening. Every syllable you just spoke was recorded and streamed directly to federal agents, who I imagine are getting warrants as we speak." For a split second, Diane froze, then a dry, ugly laugh escaped her lips. "You think you're so smart. You think you've caught me. You're the one in the trap." She gestured to her men. "Finish this, and make it clean." The rifles came up. Mia's heart seized in her chest. This was it. She had the confession, and it would cost her everything. In that instant, every window imploded. Victor's teams poured in from all sides, through doors, shattered glass, and even from the skylights. Flashbangs detonated, turning the world to white noise and concussive force. Mia hit the deck, covering her head, as the warehouse erupted in gunfire. A hand grabbed her. Marcus, his voice in her ear a roar. "Stay down! Don't you move!" The firefight was a 30-second hurricane that felt like a lifetime. When the brutal symphony stopped, Mia raised her head. Diane's soldiers were scattered like broken toys. Diane herself was on her knees, cuffed, Victor standing over her like a vengeful god. "You made a fatal mistake," Victor said, his voice terrifyingly low. You came for my family. You tried to end a life I vowed to protect, and you actually thought you would succeed. He crouched, meeting her furious glare. You were gravely mistaken. Diane spat at him, defiant to the last. This changes nothing. I have lawyers. I have influence. You think some little recording is going to stick? Oh, it'll stick. A new voice cut in from the entrance. A woman in a sharp suit walked in, federal agents at her back. Diane Morrison, you're under arrest for kidnapping, conspiracy to commit murder, money laundering, and about 15 other felonies we're still adding up. You have the right to remain silent, though it seems you've already been quite cooperative. As agents hauled a still shouting Diane to her feet, Victor's focus shifted entirely to Mia. She was still at the floor where Marcus had pushed her, her body shaking with the violent tremors of an adrenaline crash. Victor knelt in front of her. Are you hurt? A silent shake of her head was all she could manage. You did it. You made her talk. You ended it. His hand came up to her face, a shockingly gentle touch in the middle of the wreckage. You were magnificent. I thought I was going to die. So did I, for about 3 seconds. Then my team gave Diane a lesson on what happens when you threaten someone I protect. He helped her stand. Let's get you out of here. It's over. Outside, the night was torn apart by the flashing red and blue of emergency lights painting the warehouse. Diane was forced into a car, her final curses swallowed by the darkness. Her team was subdued, their rebellion extinguished in under a minute. Isabella was by the SUV, her face pale and strained. The moment she saw Mia, she rushed forward, wrapping her in an embrace that felt like a desperate plea. Don't you ever do that again, she whispered, echoing her father's unspoken fear. I'm okay, Mia said, the words a charm against the memory. It's over. Behind them, Victor's voice was the final hard stop to the nightmare. The next few hours were a daze of statements and debriefs, all filtered through the slow rising realization that she had made it through. The feed of Diane's confession hadn't just gone to Victor's team, it was streamed live to the FBI. That, coupled with Sarah's financial tracking, was enough to ensure Diane Morrison would be gone for good. By nightfall, Mia was back at the estate, lost in the hollow quiet that follows a storm. Grace drew a bath and brought food that Mia couldn't touch. Sinking into the hot water, she tried to wash the lingering fear from her bones. Left with the unsettling question of what you do after the story ends. The villain was caged. Diane was in custody. Vincent and his crew were locked up. Richard Chen was already making a deal. The final act of the long nightmare had closed with grim finality. This conclusion meant that by all rights she was free. Free to return to her apartment, her classes, her life of quiet anonymity. The thought should have felt like a release. Instead, a cold dread pooled in her gut. A gentle knock at the bedroom door sliced through the quiet. Emerging from the bath, Mia secured a robe and found Victor waiting. Can we talk? He inquired. Of course. He stepped inside but maintained a formal distance, his focus on the gardens below. I've been in contact with the federal attorneys. They're making an offer for witness protection, new name, new city, a complete break from everything you've known. Is that necessary with Diane in custody? Probably not, he admitted. But the option is there if you want to disappear. He turned from the window, his gaze finally meeting hers. The alternative is that you could stay here. The words caught. A sharp intake of breath in Mia's lungs. What? Stay here, with me and Isabella, not as a charge I'm assigned to protect, but as— He seemed to be weighing each word. As someone who is a part of this place, someone who wants to be. Victor, I'm a college student. You run an empire. What place would I have? Any place you carve for yourself. Finish your studies, start something of your own, find out who you are when you're not constantly looking over your shoulder. He closed the space between them. I know it's complicated. This world of mine has dangers you didn't ask for. But these past 2 weeks, seeing you find this buried strength, watching you master your own terror. I'm not ready to see that story end. You don't even know me. I know you found a wallet and chose to do the right thing. I know when you were terrified, you asked for help. I know you stared down a monster and pulled a confession from her because you would not be ruled by fear. You are the most profoundly brave person I have ever known, and I refuse to just let you vanish from my life. The room began to blur as tears welled in Mia's eyes. I'm not brave. I'm still that scared girl who used to flinch when people spoke to her. I wanted to stop being afraid more than I wanted to be safe. That's precisely what courage is. Victor's hand rose, gently cradling her jaw. Stay, please. Not because you have to. Not because you have nowhere else to go. But because you want to. Because I hope you feel this too. She did. That was the most terrifying truth of all. In the space between captivity and confrontation, between being guarded and learning to fight, an undeniable feeling for Victor Hale had taken root. For his stark intensity and his surprising gentleness, for the way he saw her not as broken but as powerful. And Isabella? What would she think? She has already made it clear I would be an absolute idiot to let you walk away. Her words, not mine. A small laugh like a fissure in the tension escaped Mia. She said that. She did. She likes you, respects you, and she thinks you're good for me. A ghost of a smile touched his lips. She's not wrong. Mia thought of her simple old life. A memory that now felt like it belonged to a stranger. She thought of the woman she was just weeks ago versus the one forged in the fire. She thought of walking through a living hell and finding a strength she never knew she had. If I stay, she began, her voice gaining a new steel. Things have to be different. I can't just be kept safe. I need a role, a purpose. Name it. Sarah mentioned your capacity for grace under pressure. She's looking to expand our intelligence operations. She could use someone with your unique skills. You want me to work for you? I want you to be my partner in any way you choose. Or go back to school, build an enterprise, do whatever you want. All I want is to have you here with me as part of this family. Mia looked at him, this man who had torn through her life like a hurricane and reshaped the entire landscape. This man who showed her a kind of courage she hadn't known existed, who offered her a choice when holding on must have been its own kind of terror. Okay, she whispered, I'll stay. The relief that washed over Victor's features was so complete it was almost painful to see. He gathered her into his arms, holding her like she was smoke he was afraid would dissipate. Thank you, he murmured into her hair. Thank you. They stood there for a long moment, two people who met in the darkest part of the world and somehow found their way to the dawn. At last, Victor released her. Get some rest. We'll plan our new course tomorrow. After he left, Mia collapsed onto the bed. But sleep was interrupted by another knock. Isabella cracked the door open. "Dad said you're staying." "I am." A brilliant smile spread across Isabella's face. "Good. I was hoping. This place needs more people who aren't afraid of him. And I need someone who gets what this life is. Your father isn't so bad." "No, but he's a force of nature. He needs a team that can handle the storm." She sat on the corner of the mattress. "Seriously, Mia, I'm really glad you're here." "Truly, it's good to have someone in my corner." When Isabella was gone, Mia finally let exhaustion claim her. The immediate danger was gone. Diane was behind bars, and Mia had, against all odds, found a home. 6 months vanished. Mia now stood in the command center, eyes tracking Sarah's team as they ran surveillance on a new target. She was acing her online courses while simultaneously learning the labyrinthine mechanics of Victor's organization. Sarah was right. Mia had a gift for strategy. Her eidetic memory, her stillness in a crisis, her knack for seeing patterns no one else did. She was indispensable, and she had honored the vow she'd made to herself. The role of the victim was a costume she had burned. Now she was a warrior, a woman who stood at Victor's side, never in his shadow, a person who learned that real courage wasn't the lack of fear, but the decision to act in spite of it. When Victor walked into the room, his smile still sent a jolt through her. 6 months of working together, and the man was still a beautiful mystery. The way he devoured books, the rare, real laugh he saved for Isabella, the deep respect in his gaze when it landed on Mia. "What's the status on our play?" he asked. "Green light. We'll have all the leverage we need by morning." She pivoted to face him. "Did you handle the issue with the prosecutor, the witness program?" "It's done. She's being set up with a new identity in California. She'll be a ghost." This had become their work, helping witnesses vanish, giving shelter to people trapped in the gears of someone else's war. People who, like her, had once been alone and hunted. His resources and her perspective were a potent combination. "Isabella's on the line," Victor cut in. "She's joining us for lunch tomorrow. Says she has news." "Good news," or "the world is ending" news. "With my daughter, you can never tell." But his voice was laced with affection. Isabella was clawing her way back from the trauma, even as nightmares still ambushed her. With therapy, she was learning to dismantle the horror she'd lived through, finding a new purpose in helping others at support groups for survivors. The Hale family would always carry the scars of that night, but they hadn't broken. They had reforged themselves. That evening, Mia stood in the garden as the sun bled across the horizon. It felt like another dimension from the wet asphalt where this all started. A whole lifetime away from the frightened woman who almost left a wallet on the ground. She felt him a second before his arms wrapped around her waist, drawing her back against his chest. "What's going on in that beautiful mind?" he murmured. "Just thinking how much everything has changed, how much I've changed." "Do you ever wish it hadn't? That you'd just left the wallet where it lay?" Mia let the question settle. The raw fear, the violence, the constant threat, the ghosts that lingered, everything she'd lost, measured against everything she'd found. "No," she breathed out. "Not for a second. Because that one decision brought me here. To you. To Isabella. To a life I didn't even know I could have." "You're a wonder, Mia Harper." "You always say that." "Because it's always true." He turned her gently to face him. "The most incredible part? You did so much more than just get through it. You were reborn from it. You took the most painful part of your life and turned it into a weapon, a light for other people lost in that same darkness. I had good teachers. You had the heart of a fighter. It was always in you, even when you couldn't see it yourself. He pressed a soft kiss to her forehead. I love you. You know that, don't you? And she did. He showed her every day, in the things he did, the words he said, in the unwavering belief she saw in his eyes. I love you too. They stood there in the fading light, two souls who had crashed together in chaos and built something beautiful from the wreckage. Victor had lost a wife and nearly lost a daughter. Mia, whose voice terror had once stolen, now knew that the strongest alliances are forged in the crucible of extreme hardship. A year later, she was in the library, watching Isabella with her infant. Victor's granddaughter, a part of their lives for 3 months now, was born to Isabella and a man she met in her recovery group. He was a good man, one who knew trauma and the long road back, loving Isabella for her strength, not in spite of her scars. Victor sat with Mia, his hand covering hers. Sarah's asking if you're free for the Montgomery case next week. The smuggling ring? The very same. The risk is high. Then I have to be there. Those victims need a champion who knows the feeling of being caged and helpless. She looked directly at him. I'm not that scared girl anymore, Victor. You lit the path, but I carry her ghost, and that ghost makes me better at this job. It does, he conceded, a thoughtful look on his face. I've been thinking about what we've built. This is bigger than a security firm. It's become something more, a last resort for those who have nowhere else to turn. Are you saying we should make it official? I am. A foundation to shield the defenseless, empower the broken, and provide an escape for those trapped by fate. We have the funds. We have the intel. We could create genuine, lasting change. A resolve kindled inside Mia. This was the calling she had been searching for without knowing it. A way to transform her own suffering into a protective force. A way to help others find the strength she'd located in herself. The Harper Hale Foundation, she murmured, letting the name settle. It has a certain gravity. Victor smiled. I was leaning toward the Isabella Foundation, for the one who started all of this, for the young woman who declared war on her own fear. She would be overwhelmed. They presented the concept to Isabella that evening, and she could only answer with tears. They were tears of catharsis, of hope resurrected. The foundation went live 6 months later, Mia running field ops while Victor managed the endowment. In their first year, they saved dozens of souls from the abyss, witnesses needing to disappear, survivors needing a voice, people who had peered into darkness and needed a reminder of their own light. And with every person they helped, Mia continued to change, to harden, to understand that the quiet girl, once afraid to ask for coffee, had always been a warrior. She just required a cause. 2 years after that rain-swept night, Mia stood before a room of survivors. These were the souls the foundation had gathered under its wing, people still trekking the long path toward rediscovering their will to fight. Victor observed from the back, his pride a tangible force in the room. Next to him, Isabella held her small daughter. 3 generations of defiant spirit, united as one family. I know your fear, Mia's voice resonated through the space. I know this feels like a battle you can't win. I know the question of ever feeling safe again haunts you. I know because I have been you, 2 years ago, I met a monster, and he pulled me into a world of shadows I never knew existed. I was frozen with dread every moment of every day. She paused, her eyes connecting with those in the crowd, reliving that same terror now. But I learned something. Fear is not a flaw. Fear is confirmation that you know what's at stake. Your power is defined by your next move. Will you let it bind you in chains, or will you turn it into fuel for your own fight, for your own survival, to become the one who leads another out of the same darkness? She saw recognition flicker in eyes that had seen too much. You are all in this room because somebody tried to break you, to silence you, to make you feel small, but you are also here because you endured. You keep fighting. You seek a way forward. That is resilience. That is strength. And I promise you, if I could find it, every single one of you can too. When she finished, they surged toward her with thanks, with stories, with pleas for guidance. Mia gave every person her absolute, unwavering attention, recalling the feeling of being utterly lost where they now were. Frightened, alone, desperate for any sign that the future held something better. She couldn't offer them an easy path, but she could offer them proof of endurance. Because she was living proof, because courage wasn't a mythical quality. It was a tool you forged from necessity in the very moment you thought you would break. That night, Victor found her in the library, the silent backdrop to so many of their pivotal moments. You were incredible today, he said, settling into the chair beside her. The way you connected with them, the hope you offered. I just spoke the truth. That fear and strength are not mutually exclusive. That surviving doesn't mean you're no longer afraid. It means you're terrified and you act anyway. Victor reached for her hand, pulling her closer. I've been thinking about something. About us, our next move. Mia felt that familiar flutter in her chest. And what move is that? He revealed a small velvet box, opening it to show a ring, understated, classic, and entirely her. Marry me. Not as a victim needing a savior, not because of some obligation, but because I love you completely. You are the most powerful human being I know. I want to spend the rest of my days watching you help others find the fire you found in yourself. Mia looked from the ring to Victor's earnest face and to the impossible life they had built from the ashes of chaos and desperation. She thought of the girl she'd been, too anxious to make a sound, too paranoid to be noticed. She then considered the woman she was now, a woman who confronted monsters, who fought for the voiceless, who learned that true power was telling fear it was no longer in charge. A quiet exhale. Yeah, she said, her voice solid as iron. Yes, I'll marry you. The wedding was a small, secure affair, attended only by their most trusted circle. Isabella stood by Mia's side as her maid of honor, her dress the color of a fresh start. Marcus, looking entirely uncomfortable in a suit but radiating joy for his friend, acted as Victor's best man. Sarah and Grace wept happily. The whole foundation crew cheered them on, and standing there with Victor, speaking vows of love and a renewed promise to choose bravery every day, Mia finally understood what it was to be a true force. It was never about being fearless. It was about constructing a fortress right in the shadow of your own demons. It was about betting on love, on faith, on hope when everything in the world told you to give up. She started this journey as a girl afraid of her own shadow, and she ends it as the woman who gives others a voice. And somewhere between witnessing a horror and finding her life's partner, she cracked the only code that mattered. Courage isn't something that finds you. You claim it again and again with every dawn. In the following years, Mia's voice became an instrument of power in other spaces, reminding survivors of the strength they thought was gone forever. She built a covert network of safe havens and support systems for anyone trapped with no way out. She and Victor raised children taught that strength wasn't one size fits all, that bravery spoke many languages, and that the only reason to have safety is to offer it to others. But the echo of that rain-soaked night never fully faded. The scream that tore her world apart, the wallet she nearly forgot, a single tiny choice that set off a cascade, forging a life she could never have imagined. At times, the most courageous act is merely the refusal to look away, to deny the lie that you saw nothing, to silence the voice in your mind that begs you to flee. And sometimes a mere 60 seconds of that defiance is enough to reshape an entire destiny. Mia Harper learned that lesson through fire, but she didn't just escape the flames. She learned to build with the ashes, pulling others from their own infernos. Ultimately, that was fear's true downfall, the instant you know you are bigger than it will ever be. The girl once terrified of being seen became the woman teaching others how to command a room. And that, Mia reflected, her gaze sweeping over her team and the foundation bearing Isabella's name, a life born from a power she never knew she possessed, was the only victory worth counting. Not a world free of monsters, but a spirit that refuses to let them win.